And are we in? Are we in? Are we in the show? There we go.
There we are. There we are. Hey.
Did we like the promo spot? The new promo?
That's kind of cool.
Amazing.
You're probably going to see me there if I get my act together and I can get some funding from Google to get there. I think that's possible.
I wonder if we might. I saw Norbert in that video. I wonder if we get Norbert on the show today. Maybe. I need to send him a link. That would be really helpful. He's probably asking me, "Where's the link?"
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hello. Hi.
Hello. Welcome, everyone.
Doing intros completely out of order, but okay, fine.
Yeah. It's a bit of a chaos day today. I was trying to get the intro prepared before the show, and it was all a bit of a rush.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll do the do's and don'ts, and then we'll jump into the show.
Sure. Why not do that? And then we'll introduce ourselves and things like that. Yes. Hi. Oh, yes. That's right. I'm the do's and don'ts guy now. Okay. So be respectful, be constructive. You're interacting with other human beings, not just bots. There may be some bots in there we don't know, but I may be a bot for all that matters. I don't know. So, but again, be respectful. You are dealing with human beings. Don't post anything that's adult or rude or offensive. You cannot advertise or promote anything. The only people that can promote things are the people with their faces on the screen. That's the only thing that's allowed there. Don't spam. Don't post the same thing again and again. Particularly, don't post the same question again and again, because every time you do that, I move it further down the queue. So don't do that. Any kind of harassment, we do have ban hammers. We do use them, but do have a good time. We're having a great time here doing the show week after week, year after year now. Wow. Year after year.
Wow. Year after year.
Yeah. It's been a while. It's been a while. All right. I think I did that job there. Now we're doing the intros. The intro
side. My name is Simon Lightfoot, Flutter Community Leader and CTO at Dev Angels London. And you can find me on Twitter and other places as at Dev Angels London. Randall.
And I'm Randall Schwartz. I am a Flutter Google developer expert, one of 10 in the US, one of about 150 in the world. What that means is I spend most of my time answering y'all's questions on places like Stack Overflow, Reddit. I was going to say Foursquare. Why do I keep saying Foursquare? Facebook, if I ever do that. But also Slack and Discord. It's a very important place.
You didn't say Fortran.
I didn't say Fortran or COBOL or any of those. No. And I also present virtually at GDGs all around the world, which has been really fun. I've had a whole world tour going to places in various time zones. Let me tell you. Oh my God. Some of the time zones were real killers for me.
Did you talk at GDG Spain? There was like a Dart Talks show they do.
I've definitely, I think I've done stuff in Spain. Yeah, it's the thing is that the map would be completely covered. I know that. I've presented in just about every time.
He's everywhere.
And every place. Yeah, I've been everywhere. But for this show, I have a particular role in that I am the question magician, which means that I am responsible for watching the live chat that we have on YouTube, and I flag the things that start with Q:, just like it says in the scroll down at the bottom. If you put Q: in front of your question, we will know, and we will attempt to answer it as a collective panel. Usually it's Simon, but we try to get other answers in there as well.
I try not to answer everything.
If we get Simon to shut up for a minute or so, we can actually get another alternative viewpoint, which may or may not be correct at that point. But yes, that's kind of how we work this show. So if you don't put Q: in front of it, I might nudge you to say, is this a question for us? But mostly, I presume that those are just you all chatting amongst each other, which you do. It's fine. We totally appreciate that, totally encourage that. However, if you want to talk to us, it's Q:. That lets us know.
So for those that didn't see the intro just then, the CFP for the CFP is open. So yeah, if you want to go to address, if you want to submit your talk, the address is in the chat, and you can go to that very address. So please introduce yourself.
Oh, thank you. And so I'm Rafał. I'm a Flutter developer, and every week I join here to have fun.
Yay!
Yeah, fun's good.
So are you gonna try and submit a talk? Come to the USA.
I have kids, you know.
It's a long way from Japan.
I do have time to go.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
For those that, oh yeah, and if you want to post code, so if you post any links in the chat, we don't see your messages at all. The messages just wipe, not just the link, the entire message. So the best way to actually send us some code is go to gist.new in your browser. That's it, to GitHub Gist page where you can post your code, name it something.dart, and then take the hash from the URL after you hit the save button. Take the hash from the URL, pop that in the chat. It's a hexadecimal number in the URL, and then we can go look up your gist. And the CFP for Flutter Friends open. Come on, Lucas, give me some promo things, and we can promote it on the show.
Yeah,
come on.
Yeah.
Send me some promo slides or something.
Put it in a gist. We can see him if it's a gist. All right. Let's see here. So let's see. What's been happening recently? I guess we can talk about that for a few minutes while we're still gathering questions.
What has been happening recently? I don't know.
Big news, of course, is all the Gemini releases. It's just like one after the other after the other. Oh my goodness. So Gemini Code Assist became free, which is amazing. And it's got a pretty good rate limit. I think that Google's really going after the jugular of all the other like smart IDEs and stuff, because they're trying to make it so that your IDE can be smart, like Cursor and all these other guys that are sort of waking up out there. The coding is generally decent. It's Gemini 2 Flash behind the scenes, which I found fairly recently trained on Dart and Flutter stuff. So it picks up stuff pretty modern most of the time. And you can kind of hint at it that, hey, can you do that in a Dart 3 style? And it sort of figures that out. So I've had a lot of time to play with it. I've also been using it as an assistant. Don't tell my clients, but I've also been using it as an assistant to just give me an overall view when I get a new code base, to just kind of scan through everything and kind of tell me what's the key elements of this and stuff. And it's doing an amazingly good job of stuff. I'm doing that in the private ones, not the ones that share the data so that it can be used for training. So it's your data is safe, clients. It's in the private side because you can get to it through AI
This is
Studio.
actually something I had to explain to someone the other day. That
yeah.
Okay, if you're submitting stuff to one of these LLMs and it's remote, you don't know what their data policy is about retention of what data you send them. That's one thing, sure. But if you're running an LLM, it doesn't magically just get taught like new tricks, right? Like people think it's like machine learning, like it's gonna AI learn what you give it. No, it's the session is the context. That's what it's answering into. It's that simple. It's here's the model, here's the data, here's the session data, give me the answer. It's not like self-learning, right? So it's not like you're giving it more data and it adds it to its database, right? And people seem to kind of think that that's how it works.
So the real question is, can it generate tests?
Yes. But that the Gemini Code Assist is only Gemini 2 Flash, which is extremely fast and virtually cheap. I mean, 15 queries a minute. That's pretty good. That's more than enough to do like Code Assist and stuff like that in your screen. But they also released just now, or just the last couple of days, they released the 2.5 Pro, which is a thinking model. It is insanely, intensely designed. The thought I gave it from the moment I saw it, my local dive bar that I hang out at has got a Sunday night stand-up comedy open mic night now. So I gave it only about a few sentences of a 5-bit comedy bit that I want to do. And it used local references because I told it, I'm here in this suburb location and all that stuff. It figured out local references. It figured out culture things about Portland. The homeless that we're known for and a bunch of other things. It figured that all out. And and then I said, okay, this is almost right, but I want a callback. So I want something early in the show gets referenced later in the show because that's a good sign of a good comedy bit. And it put one in that was really actually pretty funny. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I could be a professional stand-up comedian with this kind of assistance now. Come into a new city and just go, give me some information for St. Louis. I want a bit for St. Louis. So yeah, but so it's understanding is a lot better. It's going through. If you've seen the thinking models, like the latest GPTs and stuff can do this thinking sequence. It sort of starts with the problem, then it actually starts first by solving the steps it'll take to solve each of those to get to your answer. And that sequencing really changes the nature of it, makes it a lot slower. I mean, it took probably a minute to write this little 5-minute comedy bit, but that's still a minute instead of weeks. So I'm pretty happy with what I'm seeing so far. So I might take my hand at it this Sunday when we had open mic. Might read the script.
Tell us how it goes.
Yeah. You may have a whole new career. You might not see me after this. I might just be a professional comedian.
We'll start calling you Randall Gemini Comedy Man.
There we go.
Gemini Randall. There you go.
Yeah.
Right. How are we doing on questions coming into the show?
We got six. So I think actually 3 of them are one question. So it's really about 3. We
I don't have them all starred on my end, so there must be something going on.
Really? It says 6 on my screen.
I've got 1 here apparently, so I'll let you walk through them if you want to.
All right. Well, let's do that. Let me flip this on. Let's do the 3-parter first, since it came in really early. It came in before the show started. Maybe we should explain just a second about time zones. So the U.S. goes into daylight saving time 2 or 3 weeks earlier than the rest of the world, and so we were already in daylight time for the last couple shows, and but Simon and most of the rest of the world weren't. And so it was a little confusing about when we were supposed to actually start. Do we start according to Los Angeles time, or do we start according to Simon's front doors time, or where do we do here? So we decided that last week was a halfway compromise, and this week we would actually go to the time that. So it's normally starts at 9 a.m. my time, but now it's 10 a.m. We'll start for today only. And that's going to go back to 9 a.m. next week.
And next week it'll go back to 9 a.m. for you, and then it'll stay the same, effectively the same time for us, right? Like,
yeah, right. Well, except that it's actually going to be in 165 hours instead of 166. But
yeah.
Anyway,
daylight savings, yay!
Let's get rid of it. Just say no. Okay, so let's. You
asked this. We'll just schedule the show in UTC from now on, and then that's it.
We could do that, and then it would just be tough half the year for some of us. All right, let's see this 3-parter here. So in custom widgets, they take dependencies such as user IDs. I see ref watch a lot of times in build methods. I'm fine with that. So let's see what the second part says. I believe it's better to pass the dependency in via the constructor to stay independent of Riverpod. Well, I can argue both ways on that, but let's see what the third part is. This maybe create wrapper objects where the ref watch happens that only returns the actual widget with the said dependency.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So yeah, I mean, so this is quite common, right? So you can have like most stateless widgets, you give it the parameters for it to use for its display, right? So let's say you're displaying a user, like a user avatar with like the name and I don't know, age next to it, right? Then you're gonna just give it the user model, right? And now that user model, how you get that user model is none of the avatar's none of that widget's responsibility. It shouldn't care about how you're getting the avatar. It should not be watching, for instance, a particular one or do anything like that. However, you could wrap it in a widget that then provides that watches, let's say, the current user's avatar or the one from a particular piece of data, and that's provided to the widget. It really depends on what you're doing. I mean, it is bad practice to just essentially just watch everything all the time from every widget, because it becomes one of should we say, like, you're just merging. You're not have that sort of single responsibility sort of practice and just the solid principles of good design in terms of just separation of concerns. It's just you're not doing that, right? So it makes the code really difficult to read. and logic about, reason about. Sorry, go on, Randall.
I'm going to add a viewpoint to that, which is that putting RefWatch in the build of a widget makes it very clear that this view will change when this model changes. So it's a nice, solid local link to do that. Whereas passing in that model as part of the constructors, you have to then go upstream and kind of sort out who might have changed that model and where.
Depends on what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
And
so
right?
I default to the fewest characters typed, and so typically that means RefWatch the other thing in every place that I need it. Then it's also nice because I can very locally then trace it when it changes, things like that. So I could see either sort of argument, either side or all four sides of this. Whatever works really at the end of the day, and there's no formula for this.
Isn't there a consumer widget? Sorry,
Yeah.
not. I don't mean. I mean not the consumer widget type. I mean a widget called consumer.
Yes, and you could use that if you wanted a builder in the middle of your widget that depended then on.
Which is exactly what Nagana here is talking about, a wrapper widget that can watch something that will rebuild a child, right?
Yeah,
so you don't have to create one yourself. It already exists in Riverpod and provide.
Right, so you could do that as well. Yeah, so lots of options.
It depends. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say there's any. See, for example, as I said, the use case of that avatar, you wouldn't do it on. Even in that example, I'm sure Randall wouldn't even do that, right? Because it's not looking at a particular piece of data, so it can't watch something specifically. However, if you had a widget called like my avatar model, then obviously it's going to be watching like that particular user's avatar, right? The logged in user's avatar, right? So there's like again, it's about how you put something together. Anyway, yes.
So there's lots of flexibility. I don't think there's any hard and fast rules about where you put your dependency. I kind of put it as close as possible to the thing that's going to be repainted, just because that way I can immediately see real nearby what all my dependencies are, and I can put tracers in there. I can put selects on them if they're rebuilding too often because they're rebuilding because of subconditions that don't matter to this view. So there's lots of ways that putting a RefWatch fairly nearby actually can help quite a bit. But yeah, so there's your Riverpod lesson for the week. Right.
Be sure if you want to ask questions, put a Q in front of your question.
Yes. Otherwise, I miss those. Let me get the next question up, and I'll erase the previous question left for the list. How do we make a radial gradient as smooth as butter with a gist?
With a gist that I did not see, so give me 1 second to reload that.
I'll give Simon a second to look up the gist while I push a few more buttons here. Let me get rid of that.
Let's see. Right. How can we make a butter smooth radial gradient in web? I think I might. Right. We need to. I know exactly what the problem is, and the answer is good luck with that. So, all right. So let me bring this up on stream. We'll talk about this, and this is not particularly anything to do with web per se. Hang on. See if we can get this up on the stream.
There we go.
So the question was, how can we make a butter smooth radial gradient in I'll just hide that off in the web. So here's the quick example is like, create a big custom paint with a gradient painter, and the gradient painter goes between these two gradients, right? And it just paints it, fills the rectangle with that gradient, and then this is the output. Now, it's hard to see maybe on the stream, but you get what's called if I can zoom in, that's cropped. You'll get these standing lines. I don't know if you can see like the lines across here.
Not really coming
Posterization
through
is
even
kind
to
of an
me.
effect. There's a name for that. And the name just left my head. Huh?
Banding?
Sorry? Banding.
Banding?
Yeah, we'll call it banding.
Okay. We
Anyway.
declare it.
Yes, that is it. Banding. The presence of formation of stripes in contrasting color. There you go. Anyway. So the problem here is one of bit depth, right? So you've got two numbers that are very close together, right? And the way that you're interpreting these colors are 8 bits, right? If you compile this with the latest version of Flutter, you will be going with the floating point colors, but you still need to denote the surface as being HDR. And I don't believe the browser stuff supports HDR. So I think you'll be left with just banding. Now, the way you solve that in our old and worldy place is called dithering. Dithering lets you mix at a pixel level between two different colors, giving you more gradients of color between X and Y. So between A and B, as it were. Let me just show you what dithering is. And then I think there's a lovely page on Wikipedia, which I can bring up on the stream.
I wonder if the gradients are going to use floating point interpolation, I guess, when that all gets rolled out, right? So that would help. That would effectively dither it.
Yeah, let's see if I can get a better example of dithering in here. I mean, like you get these patterns, right? Yeah. See if it's this color dithering. There you go. That's exactly what we're talking about doing. It's hard to see that obviously in that picture until you zoom in. That's the whole point, right? There's an example of dithering patterns. There's various different dithering patterns, right? But the point is that you shouldn't, like, ideally, you're going between, these are two obvious colors, right? White and black. So it's hard to dither these without seeing the pattern. That's the purpose of the example. However, when it comes to the two colors you're talking about, the gradient themselves, you can choose different gradiated colors. So this is dithering between two particular colors, but you can actually have the gradient dither between those points. I don't know if there's a dither option built into Flutter actually for gradients. Should we have a look? Should we see what the API has around this? We've got radial gradient. Let's have a look, see if there's any sort of dithering options. I suppose we could just search for dither and see what comes up. No. And it's one of those things that is just old school. If anything, there might be more of a focal gradient. Yeah. I'm
not sure if the gradient computes.
So no, that's what I was going to say. I don't think it'd be more about the fact about how it's painted rather than the gradient itself. I just wanted to see if there's an option for it on the gradient or on the canvas. The thing is, if we're searching dither and we're not finding anything, I don't think dithering is part of the inbuilt UI frame. You can do it yourself still, but then you're just asking for pain. I don't think you should honestly worry about it, to be honest.
You could probably do it with a shader.
Oh, well, but on web. This is the problem on web.
Oh, isn't there WebGL now that can do shading?
I don't know what the shader support is on web right now.
Okay.
It's not been on the top of my list right now.
All right.
But yeah, I don't think I've seen any sort of dithering options in the framework, but
shader's expensive, yeah.
If since we're going to this sort of HDR view, I suspect it becomes one of those mute points where this is something that we push down into the actual render itself, which is where it should be. But yeah, there's no option to get around that problem. Most browsers have that same problem, right? Yeah.
Yep. All right. Well, I think we beat that one to death. Let's try this. Oh, this is a really basic question, but something.
If people didn't understand my explanation of the previous one, feel free to ask a bit of clarification. I can go into a bit more.
So what is the major difference between a material button and an elevated button? Do we really need to have both, or they do similar things? I'm going to guess that material button's the base class for things like elevated button.
Yeah.
An elevated button does have additional behavior in that it provides shadow and highlights and things like that, right?
If I remember rightly, it literally tells you in the SDK.
Oh.
Material button, utilities class for material buttons, depending on the ambient theme. This class is planned to be deprecated future release, but please use one of these associated buttons. There you go. So this is going to go bye-bye, apparently. There you go.
Oh.
This is probably part of the separation that they were doing, right? But anyway, the button size. So material button was, I think there is a base button class. I thought it was material button, but they've changed it. Button style
button. A button that's a button style.
Yeah, this is in relation to all of the sort of dematerializing of of the material stuff inside the current themes, right? So the idea that will have base classes that are abstract from the actual implementations. Anyway,
okay.
There you go. There's the answer. We're not going to have to. Material button's going to go bye-bye. There you go.
Yeah, it's deprecated. It's out of there. This one. Oh, yeah. There's a middle of this sentence that's ugly. Can I use OneSignal in FlutterFlow, but with Supabase instead of Firebase? I don't think anybody on this call is a FlutterFlow expert.
Right. Well, so first of all, I can answer this. So OneSignal can be used with Android and iOS, and it has a Flutter package that you can add to any Flutter project. So you can take the output FlutterFlow and add OneSignal to it. Right? Using inside FlutterFlow is very particular, as in using within their IDE and their experience. That's something that we don't have the information to give you and answer that one. However, I do know that you can export your project from FlutterFlow in, and then you can then edit your project. So you can then add OneSignal to it. However, the problem here is once you've done that, you can't magically import it back into FlutterFlow. So I'm not sure where that line lays and how you do all that, but that, and then with Supabase instead of Firebase, that's nothing to do with OneSignal. If you want to do push notifications, you're always going to use Firebase push notification service. That's the way of sending it to Android devices. That's it.
Right.
Full stop. So Android have one and iOS have one because it's their devices. It's part of their sort of network, their software stack.
And the Android one knows how to talk. The Firebase knows how to talk to APNS, so that you don't really only need one, and that's Firebase.
And that's what most people do. So you configure your Firebase settings to use. Oh, Lucas just said FlutterFlow has docs for using OneSignal. Are you telling me you came asking a question before reading the docs? Shame on you.
We are the docs for most people. Come on.
Shame.
Yeah, look at that. Look at that. Lucas, get on the call. Get on the call. You should be here answering now. Yes, help us out. All right. Yeah. We kill that one. We killed that one, right? Let's go to the next one. Hey, Simon, did you share a book recommendation at the end of every Q&A session you do? Could you?
Could you share a book recommendation every?
Yes, read a book.
We should maybe we should do a new series. Reading technical books with Simon.
Yes, hey, you can open up the pages and show it.
Here's the book club.
Yeah,
here's a discount voucher to buy this book this week.
And here's the graphic that goes with what I just said. Right there. See the graphic? And you read the next page. When you implement this particular feature, you must remember to use the interface specified below. See, here's the interface.
It was so interesting.
Simon reads technical books to you. That would be a great series, Simon.
I don't know if I've got any particular book recommendations because it depends on what you're doing. I mean, generally speaking, there's not many books that you can consider to be like all-round good technical books, right? Like you can go look up these like books around principles and techniques and things.
I recommend this one.
Oh yeah. Oh, I can give you recommendations on
myself.
the. We've got a ton
real
of Flutter
copy of
books
this.
we can recommend if that's it. But again, it's more about like. I think
You want
that's
fiction?
again. As
You
you
want
just said, a
fiction?
computer architecture book I recommended. I mean, that's one of a couple really that I'd probably recommend because that's a good foundational book, right? But again, like it's really about what your developer journey is, right? Like,
Yep.
not many books that you could say. I'm trying to think of like any of the ones I've got here. I've got tons of books on compilers, interpreters, and graphics, and all sorts. Is that your interest, though? Right? That's the thing, right? So
I'd say go to Gemini and say, here are my interests, recommend 5 current books.
it's not a bad idea. And then just invent some books that may not exist, but you can try and see if you can find them.
You could even set up a website where people could register their interests, and every week it would give them new ideas. That's a business opportunity right there.
I'll give it some thought, but I don't think I don't know if I can give you any answers to that one.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Next question is technically complex. I'll let you figure this out. Is Impeller on Android production ready in theory? Well, no. Here's the problem. I think you're about to say this, but I want to say it anyway because otherwise you're hogging the mic as always. So the thing was, Impeller went in beta and nobody used it in beta. And now that it's now in production, people are finding problems. They should have been using beta. You should have had Impeller on your systems months ago, figuring out crashes like this. But nobody did. So now we have current production crashes. So there we go. That's what you're going to say.
Do you think this is a messaging problem from the Dart and Flutter team? As in, they should have been pumping out every month notices about using Impeller that we're going to be switching Impeller production at this time.
They did. I saw notices coming out.
Oh, I did. I'm just thinking about maybe that this can be going to further, like actual developer advocates logging into like messaging spaces and actually pushing out updates and things like that, like actually getting it out to the people rather than having people to try and find it. You with me? Like there are things like this that I'm thinking that there can be a better interaction surface there of
And Simon, I got to say, from my experience as GE, so I'm constantly on the fence. I'm constantly like watching all the possible sources of information, and I'm watching all the consumers on the other side, all y'all. And there is a disconnect. There are things that are really obvious that have been in place for 6 months that I hear somebody say, "Oh my God, what is that?" So there's definitely a gap between sources of information and possible consumers of that information. I'm trying to help some of that, but I'm just one guy, and I can't be 24/7. I am 24/7 on Discord just because I'm logged in, but I mean, I can't be the guy answering the questions all the time. There are a number of sources I follow. Maybe that would be helpful. Who could talk about the sources I actually follow?
How about we create a bot using an LLM that reads all these sources and then spits out updates as on a Twitter feed or something?
Well, so there's the thing. There are 3 or 4 newsletters already that are coming out on a weekly basis that I read end to end. And there are people that basically take the week's news and put it together. I'm trying to think one I just read this morning. Problem is they're all automatic for me. They just pop up in my list. So I don't remember where they're all from. But I'll get all the links for that for next week. So we should publish maybe somewhere a list of our favorite newsletters to follow, because there are 3 or 4 out there that are really, really good, that give me ideas, even reading through things that I haven't even seen. So that's pretty thorough. If it's stuff I haven't seen, because I'm already reading all the RSS feeds for everything mentioned on Reddit and everything mentioned on Stack Overflow and a bunch of other places. And yet there are still things that go past me that these guys catch. So I think that would be a good idea, is to look for that. One of them is FlutterTap is one of them. Yeah,
definitely. I was
definitely.
going to say it's one of them, right? This one gets posted to the community groups and gives you, what events are coming up and who's doing what, and various other tutorials and other information that's being posted through the system, going through. Hey, look, I wonder who that is.
We're there. Yeah, they sometimes quote me on things, which is kind of fun. So it's obviously they're paying attention to things that I'm yelling around town. So
back. Yeah, there are Google groups as well. The official Google announcement groups for Flutter and stuff. But
Medium posts. I still have a Medium feed for RSS feed from Medium posts that contain the keyword Flutter. Occasionally get butterfly information, which is kind of stupid. But it's just key on the keyword. So Flutter. Oh yeah, there we go. Nice to have that. Right. So yeah, do we finish that one? Is that pretty much done?
Yeah. Well, I will say that this is the official Google group.
Yep.
Which is Flutter-announce, and this is where they announce all the new sort of versions and what's happening and who's doing what. So
yeah. And I'm also watching the Discord, which is by far the most active area on for Flutter, the Flutter community Discord, the one that's listed from the flutter.dev/community. The one that's listed there is not run by Google, but is probably the most central place for communications to happen around Flutter in the Discord world. And there are many announcements being made there. There's like 3 or 4 channels there for announcements, and new packages being published, new articles, things like that, including this show gets mentioned there as under events. So that'd be a great place to go if you just want to look at a few of those channels to stay informed. That's another good way too. So
I will say, based on this question from Will, this was the change logs for 3.29.1, and this just shows you they don't normally do lots of patch releases. So 3.29 came out. This is when they enabled it, and look, jittery glyphs, OpenGL flips. There's all these like GLES for backdrops. There's some of these all sort of. There's lots and lots of stuff in there. Like Android hardware buffers import platform use. Suddenly, OpenGL for using Android and on Vulkan MediaTek SoCs, Impeller OpenGOS crashes. Like it's all coming through right now. So keep up to date with the latest point release, patch release of Flutter, and you'll be getting these fixes. And it's quite possible that fix the one that you're talking about is already in there. And what they have done, I know that they did a few patches where they just disabled Impeller on certain GPUs. So they know it's unstable. They'll disable it for now. And then so you'll get the OpenGL backend, and then instead of Vulkan, for example, say the Vulkan implementation is the problem. And then once they find the fixes for it and get them in the pipeline, they'll obviously disable that. But yeah. Oh, he said here about it. I literally didn't read the question. This version hotfixed it. Yeah. Well, there you go. It's literally one of the ones.
There are still bugs, though. There will still be bugs. The problem is just at what point do you have diminishing return on the bugs? I mean, is it more production ready than the next thing over? So therefore,
I have a hard problem with like that whole production ready piece. It's like, when is something production ready? I mean, right?
When we ship it. Before we ship it, hopefully, but when we ship it, at least, because by definition, it's production ready, right?
Right.
All right.
I totally get it though. Like, obviously, if you've got like loads of known bugs, then you shouldn't be shipping it, right? But they've done their due diligence. They've done their like beta testing and everything else, and they didn't get any detected stuff. They can only test so many devices, and then it goes out, and then people say it's problems. So, anyway, let's get on. Let's go off that topic. Go on.
As set state rebuilds the whole widget and children widgets, but rebuilds them carefully, so you got to keep that in mind. What is your recommended way to handle ephemeral state on complex widgets? Handle it properly. That's my favorite way.
So first of all, using set state on a really complex widget, you're going to get it rebuilding all those widgets because that's what you told it to do, right? If you only want to rebuild a subset of the widgets, then that's what stateful builder is for, or just use like a value notifier or some other notification mechanism with a builder. So there's a widget called builder. Most people find this like one of these widgets that is like, why would I use this? Because it just puts a function in it. No, but what it actually does, it gives you a scope, gives you a build context scope. So by using a builder widget, and then inside that you can put your final variable equals ref watch blah, right? Now that watch is on the context of just that builder widget, which means when the variable changes and it rebuilds, it just rebuilds that widget. No set state required, right? Now you can still use set state, you can do that, but what you're doing is you break it down into smaller widgets, right? So yeah, if you're doing set state on a really complex widget, well, you're going to rebuild a complex widget. That's your choice, right? But there's as I say, you can do things like have variables with ephemeral state inside your state inside your state class, and they are listenable, which means that now you can use things like value listenable builder or other variables to watch those variables for changes, and it only rebuilds that part of the component of the UI. Anything to add to that, guys? Sorry, I kind of like smashed right into that.
I think though the important thing to keep in mind, I think, is people. I don't know if people really understand how much widget reuse there actually is if you have properly constructed widgets that are either const or things, parameters don't change that are going into them, that kind of thing. So there's a heavy amount of reuse. So when we sort of abstractly say that, set state here rebuilds everything below it, it means it considers for rebuilding everything below it. But there's a lot of reuse going on.
I mean,
it's no reason like that fast.
I'll give you an example. Just kind of just on this point, if you change your theme, right, inside your app, that changes, let's say, the padding amount on multiple components, guess what's going to happen? Lots of stuff's going to get rebuilt, lots of stuff's going to get relayed out, and lots of stuff's going to get painted because that's the nature of what you've asked it to do. So there's obviously going to be certain things that are going to be expensive operations compared to I just changed my name, so I only have to rebuild the text widget that holds the name variable, right? So
I like this follow-up here, though. Let's cover that. Breaking up a complex widget into multiple stateful widgets can help too. Yeah, if you can start introducing new stateful widgets below the outer widgets, or if they don't have to be stateful, if they can be stateless, where you're passing the value in, that's even better. So
I find, just to be clear on this point, I find it easier to build large widgets or large UI and have it be less performant to begin with, and then break it up. Because if you're working with lots of widgets, it becomes tedious because now you've got to reorganize a bunch of widgets and a bunch of other stuff. So the breaking up part is great after the fact. So if I'm doing a new layout, I'll probably do it in a less performant manner to begin with, and then break it up and decide how I want to handle data around.
We haven't done this before. That could be a live coding thing where you make a complex widget that has like 6 sub widgets that are all in line, and then show how to use the IDE to extract one of those out to a separate class. That'd be a nice simple demonstration, but it goes right to your point. I until I first saw this work, it was like, oh my God, you can do that? That's so I think that's totally underknown.
Used.
Not underused, just less known than it should be. That's what I'm trying to. That was the phrase I was looking for. But yeah, do you think? We could do that for live coding, I guess. Whatever you want to say.
I'll make a note in a second. And before we jump on to the next question, I just want to say, So again, back to the Impeller thing. It was like they're not going to launch something that isn't crash free for them, but crash free on every device that's ever been made. When it's low level stuff like this, no chance. That's why we have the beta testing, right? And then again, like this point here, it's a hard crash because at that level, it's doing things that are raw with memory, with raw with GPU. If something fails, the app's dead in the water, just dead, right? There's no recovering from that, right? So the C++ assertion is exactly that. The fact that it's complaining about a C++ assertion is a good thing. I don't think people realize that an assertion means something went wrong that was unexpected by the developer. And this gives them a chance to go fix that particular thing, right?
Yeah.
So
Cool.
I know there was a problem with like reloading. Certain GPUs would auto reload some textures, I think it was, and then other ones would not. So there was an expectation that they were loaded when they weren't, or something like that. Along those lines. But anyway, it's the kind of thing of like, again, there's so many, like, people don't realize, I swear, like, as a developer, it's hard to perceive this, but as a developer, you see I'm writing this program and text appears on the screen, you think it's that simple. It's not. Nowhere near that simple for you. What your computer does to get what you typed in to the screen is so complicated, so many layers, and we just take it for granted, right? Yeah, and there's also so many people that have written that software in so many different ways, and maintained or not maintained by so many different people. So it's super complicated.
It's amazing elevators still go to different floors.
It's amazing that any software works for a lot of developers. Once you've been around the business a while, you're like, oh my God, this even works? Great. It's all sticky. I remember an interview with the creator of Twitter, and it's not Twitter, Instagram.
Yeah.
Before he sold it to like Facebook or whatever it was. And when they were first making it, he was like, when we suddenly got big, he was so scared that because the whole thing was just held together with like sticky tape and wishes. Yep. It was like, he literally says this in the interview. He said it was atrocious, but he made it work. They made it work.
Well, I had for many years I had a client that had built up a job posting service, and when they started out, they had 50,000 jobs in the database, and then they got famous and got 50 million jobs in their database. And so all the scaling issues that they didn't have to worry about when you have only 50,000 jobs in your database all came into play. They brought me in to improve their time to first paint times, and luckily I was able to reduce it by a factor of 10 or 15, because all I did was hopefully I didn't give too much about the name of the company, because that way they can't sue me. But they had gone from making 75 individual database calls just to paint the front page down to 3 when I was done. It was insane. But you make those mistakes when you're early, because it doesn't matter. You can go ahead and make 75 calls, 5 calls per line of data being displayed. That's fine when you're not doing very much work, but when you have to scale that up, it just doesn't work. So I'm amazed. I am amazed that any software works. I'm amazed that y'all can hear me right now. That's still it's still kind of amazing. And considering that we're on 3 continents here together, making a conversation that's going out to thousands of people perhaps over time. It'll be interesting. Yeah.
Do you remember I saw an interview with someone doing I can't remember the chap's name. He's the guy who invented email, basically.
Yeah.
And it was like that kind of suddenly that feeling that this magic just happened, right? Like I managed to send a message from one person to another. Do you remember anything that happened to you, Randall, like that? Like your first time you used a video calling, or like we take it for granted now, us talking like this, but like there's a time, and the first time for everyone, which was I'm now speaking to someone like that I was only ever speaking to on the phone before or something, right?
I think it was sort of constant revelation to me, because as each I've been through a lot of technology phases, and as each new technology showed up, like my first cell phone was a big brick, back in the old days, and a giant antenna. And it's like this big brick and giant antenna, and it got like 15 minutes of talk time after a 4-hour charge. I mean, it was not really very useful at all. but it was a transition. It was like all of a sudden now I had a mobile phone. I had a phone I could take with me somewhere, as opposed to being tied to a landline. I still had a landline for probably the next 10 years after that, but I haven't had a landline, I think 15 years now, maybe 20.
You just remind me. I remember the times on mobile phones where you would pick up the phone and you only had a limited amount of like either talk time minutes or battery power, and it was like, yeah, you get the message. Okay, yeah, no worry, bye.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
can't hang up fast enough,
Well, not to mention that there's also a buck or two a minute, which didn't help.
That's what I'm
either,
saying.
so.
Like it was like you just try and get the most out of your battery and talk times. So
Use
now
only
it's
short
like
words.
limited,
Right.
whatever.
And international, free international calls and I remember when we had to worry about long distance to other parts of Oregon. And now I have one of my phone numbers is in San Diego, and I don't care because people from here in Portland can call that San Diego number for the same price they call a local number here in Portland.
I found this out that it was a while ago, but I found this out where in America you have mobile numbers are still based on the region they were like sold.
Oh,
in,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's not a thing here in the UK. Like you have a mobile number and it's a prefix and number, so it's a mobile.
Right.
What number you're dialing is a mobile. Where in America, as well as I understand it, you don't know it's a mobile number that you're dialing until maybe someone says, "I'm going to drop out a signal" or something, right? Like,
well, it's also different for us because it's caller pays, not.
we don't have that yet.
Called pays, which means that if you're calling me, you're using up my talk time. So that's who gets the money. Unlike some places where if you call a mobile number, it's more expensive than if you call a landline. That's not true in the U.S.
Right. So it's interesting you say it because that's the way it is here, right? And also, you don't get charged for receiving calls, right? In that sense, right? I know people get charged for receiving, like some certain networks charge for receiving calls per minute, kind of deal, right? As well.
Yeah. Well, you burn talk time here, but almost everything's on unlimited talk time, so it doesn't matter.
Well, but even then, that's still not a thing here. It never has been. Like it's always that it's you, the caller, that pays the charges, basically.
Yes. Right.
That's
we've digressed.
Yeah. I remember that in the past in Poland, it was like when you wanted to call someone on landline, then first you pick up the phone, and then there was a lady in the central, and then you tell her, please connect me to the number this, and this, and then she basically put you on hold, and then you wait, and then you were talking with someone.
Yeah.
That's
so they had that here. You had the operators, the current operator.
Yeah.
And then also I remember it's quite often you pick up the phone. When you pick up a phone, you would say the last 4 digits of your number here, and that would be so that the operator knows they're connected to the right number.
Yeah. So
I think there's another edge period. I think an event-worthy note here, a noteworthy event, and that was the day I was able to have IP traffic to my house because a local ISP had finally set up dial-up connections that were IP on top of the dial-up.
Getting internet for the first time for the generations that grew up without the internet was a big deal. That was definitely always a big, like, oh my god, I'm now connected to the entire entire world.
I typed ftp.mit.edu on my local machine, and it was like, and it worked, because I'd gotten used to dialing up to a box somewhere that was on the internet and then typing FTP there, but to actually type FTP at home, that was a major transition.
BBSs and that style of thing, dialing into machines directly.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm sounding like an old geezer. Let's go. We have 10 questions now. We're at the top of the next hour. I'm thinking maybe cut off in 10 more minutes, and then we're going to answer all those. Then we're going to do some live coding, hopefully breaking a widget into multiple sub-widgets. That'd be kind of fun. All right, here we go. How is Flutter different from Jetpack and SwiftUI? They're different. They feel they work similar. It says native platform have any advantage in UI things over Flutter. So how can we write better Flutter code?
Platform have any advantage of UI things over Flutter? So if you can, so if so, how can we write better? I'm not sure I get that last bit, to be honest. Does native platform have any advantage over UI things over Flutter? That's one thing. If so, how can we write improve Flutter code? Does that mean like how would you make your code Flutter code better so it works on a native platform? The answer is you don't have to. Like well, in terms of just make your Flutter code better and it'd be better, right? Like there's not any specifics you need to think about. We'll also mention that Jetpack Compose came from Flutter. It started off literally born from Flutter. So they literally took the Flutter widgets and everything else and converted them to Java and Kotlin and made Jetpack Compose. That's literally how they built it. In fact, the original Jetpack Compose source code, if you go back into like the very first versions, you'll see there's Dart code in comments above functions, right? Yep. So but equally, like they've just gone in different directions, right? There's certain things that you do in those that you don't do in Flutter. They're just different UI stacks, right? They may be reactive in the way that they feel, but they're not written in the same way. So
yep. All right. And really this isn't, it just doesn't matter.
None of us work for Google or Flutter. So we're just go
on. But I was going to say, it always feels so weirdly tribal when people ask questions like this. Like, I want to make sure everybody is joining the Flutter team. That's important to me, but not really. I mean, as long as Flutter's around and there's a huge base using it, and a lot of this Jetpack and Swift UI and all that stuff are around, and there's a huge base using it, they can all coexist. It really doesn't matter. So don't freak out that there's other things out there. Flutter will be around for quite a while. It's solving some problems in interesting ways that nobody else does. So it's nice.
So there's an app for anyone that's interested. There's an app called Flutter Shark, which you can install in your on Android. I think there's an iOS. I'm not sure there's an iOS version.
No iOS one.
No iOS. But if you've got an Android device, install Flutter Shark on your various profiles. You'd be surprised how many apps are actually made with Flutter. I'll tell you.
Yeah. Didn't they say it was like 10% of the store now? It was some
do you know what I found the other day? Actually, this came up. I'm going to see if I can find this page again. I'm going to dig it out. So I saw an error come through from someone in one of the community packages around privacy permissions, and then the rules around iOS's privacy stuff and what you need to do in libraries. And it occurred to me. Let's see if I can find this. Hang on. Hopefully it's going to come up in my quick search.
Yeah, 27. That was the number, right? Yeah.
Yeah, found it. Okay. So yeah, let me bring up this page because this is kind of interesting. Well, I think it's kind of interesting. I'm not sure if this has any sort of direct meaning, but so third-party SDK requirements from Apple state about having privacy manifest, right? And they have specifically said SDKs that require privacy managers and signature. And this is the list that they've come up with, right? So some of these are expected. AF networking is a long time, iOS package and everything else. But look how many of these are Google/Flutter related. I can see so many Flutter related packages.
Oh no!
Look, Connectivity Plus, Info Plus.
It's our Connectivity Plus. That's great.
Just keep going down. File Picker, Info Pass,
File
Provider,
Picker.
Right? Obviously all the Firebase stuff, but that could go with native as well. Share Plus, iOS, SQF Lite.
SQFlite clearly is
all of these, right? All of these are all Flutter related. And you start looking at like the sort of the full list of these, and actually that's quite a substantial amount, which tells me that is this because they didn't have privacy policy when they first came out, or is this because they've identified this is they say there's like a top 1,000 libraries that apps are using. These are like the top ones that should have this stuff. So therefore, does that indicate that there's a hell of a lot of iOS apps that are now using Flutter? I think so. My belief about what I read there in this terms of there's no real firm statistical number there, but it feels that way, right? From just close.
That. Yeah.
So, the numbers we keep hearing are there is a lot. I can't remember the exact number. There's been
millions of Flutter developers, millions. And we only get a tiny fraction of a fraction watching the show. So tell your friends.
Yeah, tell your friends. Tell them we're here every week, every Wednesday.
We're live, usually at some time in the morning or afternoon or evening. It's hard to tell sometimes. All right, here we go. Next, one animation controller with multiple kids listening to the shimmer themselves. Multiple animations, one for each shimmering widget.
Okay, so first of all, Shimmer is a package that does an animation, and this is when you have loading data and you can kind of get this gray shimmer that takes place whilst it's like loading views, right? It's just an alternative to having a progress spinning thing, right? It's perhaps a little bit nicer in some UI conditions. So one animation grid with multiple children listening to the shimmer themselves, or multiple animation controllers with each shimmer, which like, what do you mean? You've asked either. There you go. Whatever's correct for your app.
Do you want them to shimmer in synchronization?
This is it, right? If you want them operating
shimmering.
If you want them to synchronize the animation, then you're going to have one controller, and if you want them to be able to be independent, they're independent.
Yeah, exactly.
but that is the point. That is literally why you would pass it an animation controller to synchronize them.
Yeah.
Right.
So questions are cut off now at this point, by the way. No more questions.
No more questions. Sorry, everyone.
Yeah, we still have 10 in the queue. We still have 10 in the queue, so it's good.
Yeah, we still have stuff to go
what'd
through.
You do? Okay.
We'll do some live coding as well.
Not a Flutter related query, but I started 2021 and not only did Flutter now, I'm hitched, not super good, knowing everything, not great with DSA. Neither. Oh, that's not really a question. That's just you lamenting.
What's this? No. But I started in 21 and only did Flutter. Now I'm in a hitch.
Oh, maybe he wants to know how to learn.
What does he mean? Now I'm in a hitch.
Maybe that's stuck.
Now I'm stuck. I'm not super good at knowing everything in depth of Flutter framework.
We followed up with this. Sorry, it wasn't marked. How do you want to expand from Flutter?
Oh, you mean that you started with Flutter, but you're stuck with Flutter, and you want to expand your programming knowledge to other areas? I mean, in my opinion, the best way to learn any programming is actually to use it to build something. Not just like follow tutorials, actually build something, right? So you need to have a target in mind. It's the best way, because then now you go, I'm going to do that. Then you can then break it down and have the steps along the way to achieve that, right? Now, that would be about using the right language or features that you want to do. So, like, pick any one of those as long as it takes you to the target that you want, right? That's what I'd say.
Yeah.
So, like, say like, let's say you wanted to build an image shortening service with a mobile app for it, right? You can start looking at how they do their thing, think about how you might implement such a thing. Go, oh, well, I need to break it down and say, oh, there's obviously a website or something for this, there's that, and start like looking into how you might build one of these things. And then you go, oh, well, I'm going to go build a website using Web3 technology stack with some JS framework if you want to learn JavaScript. And, you know, I want to do a service. I'm going to try Rust building this thing and learn about that. I mean, I think it's about having that target. You don't just go learning Rust tutorials, right? You learn Rust tutorials to get you to a target. Cool.
Oh, wait, sorry, that was the wrong one. I didn't scroll far enough. Stupid scroll. Stupid scroll there. This is what I was going to try to show. There we go.
I mean, guys, have you got anything about like learning new stuff? I mean, when do you learn? When in your careers have you learned new things? Or when have you tried to
learn? Every day I learn.
No, what I mean is like
I'm not kidding. I wish I was kidding, but no, I'm.
When you're not busy, this is the thing is when we're like this, you're kind of busy doing stuff, you're learning stuff every day, right? But what I'm trying to get is maybe when you're first starting and you've not got like a lot of knowledge to maybe back decisions onto, you have to learn more, right? So is there, I mean, if you pick up a new framework or a new language or a new development stack or something or new technology, it's like going, I'm going to go try a different database that you've never used before, right? A different like database framework.
Mostly I find that when I'm working with especially with a new client, there is some catch up to get to where I want to be in working with that client. But I'm often motivated then, if I have to learn 100% of this, I'll learn 110% somehow and figure out something related to this as well, so that I'm prepared even better for the next gig. So I've definitely done that in a continuous loop over the decades. Is that I've always kind of committed myself to something that's a little bit of a stretch for me all the time. And then I learned that and then some, and that gets me even further into being much more effective for my next client. So yeah, I think it's a cycle you were asking if I do, and yes, I do that.
Yeah, so, I just picked some project that interests me so far. For example, how can I write Flutter embedder, for example, and then you just search, you try, you fail, and you try more.
Yeah.
And
you ask some AIs to help you,
which usually fails, and then like Google again.
I like the last part, and then stop halfway mostly.
but the point is, you get to a point. So this is the thing. You're not trying to. This is the point. You have a target. It doesn't mean you have to build that target. This is the problem. Is I think a lot of people actually fall into the victim of this. If you were to build, let's say you're like, oh, I want to build my own Twitter, right? You never think you're going to compete with Twitter, right? You're never going to build something that does that, because you need a lot more people, a lot more hands. But to aim for that gives you a journey of something to learn. And you'll get to a point where you're satisfied with your learning about that topic. And that point, you just can shelf that project, and that's your unfinished project that was always remain unfinished, right? Maybe in the future you go, oh, I may come back to add something to it because I've come up with this new concept, right? A bit like you may have done this project in the past, and then AI comes out and you go, oh, I wonder what happens if I put AI on this thing, right? So I think like there's this perspective of everyone. I literally don't think there's any developer that hasn't got plenty of unfinished projects. Don't think you have to finish them. Just I want to put it out there, because I've heard it before. People feel like guilty that they haven't finished all these like home-baked hobby projects. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like,
I've got 2 apps on my phone that I use every day, and I keep thinking, I got to put this in the store at some point. Wouldn't that be nice? Because if I'm using it every day, it would be nice for somebody else to be able to use it, but they're not polished yet enough. So I'm starting to use AI to figure out how to make them prettier. So that's my next step.
There's that saying about you just if what was it like? You'd be shame yourself if you open sourced it, because it's like it's
not that bad. It's just not complete.
No,
it's not.
But I think it's
documented.
A lot of developers, they do these projects in their own time, and they're not something that is something they want to like show off to everyone, right? But equally, you want to get out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go on to the next one here.
Remember that the last 10% of the project takes 90% of the time.
Oh yeah.
Was the 80-20 rule is the one that I always remember, which is 80%. The last 20% takes 80% of the time, and the first 8% takes 20% of the time, kind of deal. Like it's just
back to Flutter. I have a large text inside a text widget. I'm facing issues with rendering the screen. It's taking time and skipping frames. How can I fix this problem?
Okay, hang a minute. Large text, you mean much text, as in lots of characters, or do you mean large text as in it's really big on the screen? Because if I have the word hello on the screen, that should be really quick to render, even if it's full screen, right? Like 200 point text, right? Now, what the problem you're having is probably one of where all text comes into this, right? So this is actually there's actually a name. Kindle had the same problem, right? So text itself is one of those interesting things that it wraps, right? So you read it left to right, top to bottom, or whatever, a direction. Obviously, if you're in Japan, it's up to down. If you're in Arabic, it's right to left, but whatever. The point here is it flows. And because it flows, if you change the size of a window that contains a large piece of text, guess what? It has to recalculate the entire thing because it has to work out where the text breaks, where those breakpoints are, how that flows. And so it can't just calculate the one line and the where it needs to wrap. It has to recalculate everything. So having a lot of text in one screen affects every application. This doesn't just affect Flutter, right? Also, I'll say that I'm going to caveat this and say it'd be less efficient in debug. So when you're developing, it's probably going to be crappy, right? Try running a release build of your app and using that. You probably find it's a lot smoother. The answer to this is probably don't put as much text on the screen. Also, I can't imagine why you would want to put that much text on the screen. There's a point at which you don't. I mean, I'm assuming this person means like lots of text characters, lots of long paragraphs of text, basically. Because there's a point at which that becomes useless to a person, right? Like this. Basically, what I said about Kindle, the Kindle had the same problem. They had these really lightweight processed tablet devices, some of the very first generation of those things with e-ink displays. They didn't want to consume lots of power and CPU and battery. Not by much. I appreciate that, but not by much. It still has to calculate the same way. You can make with monospace text, you can make suppositions around like where something might be placed on screen. So for example, if you need to calculate where this character might be in the horizontal space, you can just multiply it by the width of one character to get there. So you can do certain tricks like that get you a bit more performance. You don't have to do specific calculations, but when it comes to reflowing, it's exactly the same cost. So sorry, where was I? Darn it.
Sorry, yeah.
No, it's fine. Anyway, the point I was saying was that Kindle had the same problem with his low power devices, and they basically gave the user less options and restricted what they could do on the device and what the minimum maxims were. So they didn't have the problem. It was like even though we could render it that size or do it this way, we're not going to let the user. That's our solution, right? There's a bunch of these problems, and again, it's like when I really there's a passion thing of mine, by the way, to text like this, but there's actually a Unicode standard for text wrapping because it's so complicated with right to left, left to right, all the different ways of doing this in multiple different languages. It's really complicated, and the standard is massive. It's like 80-page standard for just doing text wrapping. Yeah, so and that all has to implement and work for all this text. So again, it's one of those things, right? You look at, I guess, as a developer, you look at a lot of the time you look at the face value thing and what it's doing for you in front of you. You don't think about like maybe standards that have to apply to everyone in the entire world. This software has to work for everyone, everywhere, all at once.
All right.
Yeah. Anyway.
Cool. Next question here. Why Const widget working weirdly in the newer Flutter version? I enabled Const lints with fixes. My app performs better than previous. Const widgets are not caching. Rebuild still. That's a word mash here. I have enabled working weirdly. Is that good weirdly or bad weirdly? Because you said my app performed better than previous. That sounds good.
Why Const widget working with the newer Flutter version? I have enabled Const lints. With my app performing better than previous, Const widgets are not caching. I think rebuild still. I mean, they always so they don't get new instances, but the widgets will still build. The build function doesn't stop getting called because it's const. So there have been some various things around performance in the most recent versions. Have you tried turning off Impeller to see if that makes a difference? Right, like I haven't seen any particular issues around this recently, but I haven't gone looking either. So I suggest you go looking at the Flutter issues in the Flutter repository and see what comes up.
Yeah. All right, next one. I have a monorepo. Each folder of the package needs to have the same name as the package name. No, you need every.
It's not a requirement.
Okay.
If you want to, you can. Right.
Package name, some prefix, Flutter hooks. I want folder name Flutter hooks.
That's perfectly fine.
Yeah, I think for a monorepo though, if you're going to include adjacent packages, they do need to have different names.
Yeah. I mean, the folder names need to be different, sure. But what I'm trying to say, the folder name and the package name do not need to be the same. A folder like
True,
you can put the pubspec file declares the name of that package code that sits within the folder. The folder has literally no relevance to the package whatsoever. You can name it whatever you want.
Right.
It's that simple. And the difference is when you have a monorepo, you need to refer to the other one, and it's just simpler to refer to it with the same name, but there's no reason for you to do that. So things like Melos and things, when you give it the directories, it will look up the packages and update the local references, the path references for you in overrides. But yeah, there's no need for them to be the same. And AI said you might have possible problems. Is crap. So AI spouting false information again.
Yeah. Hallucinations. It happens. Provider. This is probably for me. Provider got a new version with increased number of providers you can use. It's not really an increased number of providers. What's your view on the proposed 3.0 syntax for Riverpod for mutation or sync and async? Personally, I haven't played enough with it. I've been too busy doing actual projects that needed current Riverpod, so I haven't seen too much. I watched the conversations go by between Remy and the other guys on the Discord, but I haven't spent a lot of time drilling down into it. I do like the whole notion of, well, we didn't get macros, so Riverpod 3 shouldn't be targeted at macros. Now it's targeted at simply simplifying the syntax a lot. And there's going to be there's only going to be one actually, no, the new one is like there is no separate notifier. You subclass provider to get your change notifier effectively below that. So that's a different strategy. I haven't had a lot of time to play with it. I think some of the code's already in the Git repo if you're pulling down the Git repo for Riverpod, which I am, but I haven't been watching it very closely. So my view is Remy knows what he's doing. He's had a lot of experience with how to make stuff depend on other stuff. And if anybody's going to be able to do this properly, I'm pretty sure it's Remy. Just give him enough time and it's going to be wonderful. So that's kind of my only take on that. Anything you want to say, Simon, or it's out of your wheelhouse anyway, right? All right.
I mean, was this provider? This wasn't the provider package. It's a provider in
Riverpod. Yeah, I could tell by the way it was saying. Yeah,
6.1.3 of provider was published 1 hour ago.
Really? What? 6.1 what?
6.1.3 of the provider package.
Oh, provider package. Wow. Actually, I don't
apparently significantly increase the number of providers that multi-provider can create at once without causing a Stack Overflow.
Oh, geez. That's you don't need that in Riverpod. You don't need multi-provider in Riverpod at all because it's an entirely different strategy for how you consume some other provider. Much simpler.
I always have a problem with recursive functions for that exact reason. Who wants Stack Overflows? Oof.
Yeah, crazy stuff. All right, on to the next one. Still got a lot of questions here, and we have people still asking questions. They're like, no, we're done. What's your approach for testing an app? Ignoring the test. Now, I think unit testing is not needed if you do widget testing, right?
No. So it's about what you're testing. You're not unit testing widgets, right? You're unit testing your components, things that have a directed input and output, right? So say you've got testing. I've seen people test models, which is like nuts to me. But you know, you can do that with unit tests. But you can also test things like your sort of repository layer, your service layer, your app state layer, the things that are behind the scenes, right? That's all unit testable, right? Then when it comes to widget tests, you're testing like they're more like end-to-end tests. You're testing what happens at the front end and how it maybe utilizes those things on the back end, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's lots of things you can test them both, but the point being is yes, you need both, in my opinion.
Just set the link I sent from. Thank you. So there's the link explaining like from the official architecture, testing the different layers.
Yeah.
So
there's official documentation.
Yep,
it would be good.
So bring it up on stream.
Yes, you did. I think somebody did. Oh, that kind of up on stream. Okay, that's just
testing each layer. Yeah, testing UI.
Yep.
Units, widget tests. Data
we're gonna let Raphael talk about.
Look, unit tests.
Hey. Oh, unit tests! Yay.
But yeah, so this is a good example here. You know, you're testing your repository layer here, that when you call the get booking function, it's going to call the API on the back end, right? It's going to work as expected. Whereas, you know, you may have your sort of testing widget. Where the hell is it here? Well, this is an example of how you load it. Sorry. But yeah, you might have something like this, but it's testing the widget on the front end, right? Things like, does your app navigate from one screen to another when you tap a button? That's all widget tests. That's not unit tests.
Yep. Okay. Anyway, you got the link, and we can go on. For classes, I use freezed and add from map and to map methods that convert doc snapshots into instances. I manually do these methods, especially for converting FS timestamps into date times. Better way, use an object store database.
I manually do these methods, especially for converting FS.
The whole serialization.
So this has already been done for you. The Firebase package has code generators for converting snapshots to models.
Yeah.
This is already built. Where is it? Let me load it up.
Freeze package does that. Freeze knows
well, freeze might, but it's all about snapshot, which I'm assuming means Cloud Firestore snapshots.
Right. So you go from a hierarchical collection of lists and maps into an object, which is what freezed knows how to do with its freezed objects.
Sure, but what I'm trying to say is when you get I'm trying to remember where it is now. It's
the timestamps issue. I thought it detects if it's a Firestore timestamp and then automatically converts that to a.
I don't know about freeze doing that, but I know that's what the Firebase system has it has a method.
Firebase
right. Where am I? Let me just see if I can find the thing I've completed.
Well, there's timestamp to date and timestamp from date or whatever. Yeah, there's those two methods.
It's going to really bug me now because I think it was it's a separate package. You add it as a with convert. No, it's here. So for example, you have your collection reference in Cloud Firestore, and there's a with converter function on it, and then there's your from and to Firestore functions, right? But the idea is that this will give you. There's a generate. There's generate. I've seen a generator for this. I guess Freeze is generating these functions, right?
Yeah. You basically pop those.
And the problem is that it's not handling the timestamps correctly.
It's a freeze problem then.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you do that with Freeze. If you can like register, like a lot of the serializers, what you do is you register a type, you read a type converter, and it will come, and when it finds that particular input type, it will convert it to an output type.
Yeah.
I mean, you can do that with the generic method. You understand that, right? So you can take your output from your Firestore snapshot, which being a map of string to dynamic, and make a function which just converts any value that it finds into a date time object and rebuilds a new map, right? And you can have it recursively go down the tree and actually map out objects inside objects. That's the way you kind of do that kind of thing. And then you stick it in the chain, right? You just stick it in your so that every class collection reference goes through that, and it will convert them for you. That's one way of doing it. But yeah, you definitely don't want to be doing it manually on every single time you're doing those converters, right?
No, definitely not. Yeah, okay, I think that's enough. In other words, there are docs on this. I'm not directly experienced with this, but it's something around the area of, yes, this is tried and true. People plugging stuff into Firestore, so it's just a matter of getting the right mechanisms there. I want to learn how to create complex graphs like trading view charts, library, zooms, scrolls, custom draws, shapes. Which should I learn? I know stateless and stateful. It's going to be a lot more than that. Custom painter. But here's the thing. I think all of these are covered under FL Charts package, which is probably the #1 charting package in the pub. So check that out first. See if you're just feeding it the right parameters gives you what you want. If not, dig inside that and figure out how they're painting stuff.
Well, I think I was going to say, yeah, but the question is, I want to learn how. Is this they want to know to use it, or they want to learn how you do this for yourself, right?
Yeah.
I would not.
FL Charts.
I would not jump in. To be honest with you, I would not jump into FL Charts in that way. It's not.
Okay.
It's a great package. Don't get me wrong, the output, but it's not a simple one to actually see those things in and use.
Yeah. There are plenty of custom paint tutorials that you can do with a video search in Google. Be sure you put a time bound of about a year on your search, though. Make sure that you're doing it with modern Dart and Flutter. But that's the thing. Everybody should learn. Everybody should know when you're Googling for something on Flutter, there is an option in the Google search that says, how old can this be? Always put that at a year. I have a shortcut for that, because anything older than a year probably might have changed since then. So be sure you always keep your searches bounded in as quick as close as possible. But there's been some amazing videos on using custom paint and doing some amazingly cool
great
stuff.
Talks on FlutterCon conferences and everywhere around this. It's always a topic of interest. I mean, I think generally speaking, like, you could look up any topic around drawing to a canvas on any language, and you would gain information that you could transpose to drawing canvases on Flutter. Like, it's the same, pretty much the same drawing commands everywhere. Draw line, draw circle, draw whatever, right? I was actually about to bring that package up. So GraphX is a really great sort of fundamentals drawing and animation package, which is built on top of the Canvas package. And in fact, Roy presented at Flutter Forward Extended London, which is how I know Roy and the package. But there's some really cool things that you can actually build with good graphics libraries, right? Whatever it might be. In fact, he's got a nice web gallery here as well. So, Chart Mountain on there. There you go. It's just me clicking on them. But I don't like Facebook reactions. What is this? I have no idea how this works. Shares. Do I long press on a photo? Oh, okay. There you go. Oh, look, there you go. Look at that. Long press. Look how cool this is.
Yeah.
Long press, bump, and then there you go, and let go, and it does that one.
Nice.
Like, it's just like these kind of like little cool things that you can do that, perhaps, there you go. 3-dimensional. But yeah,
there's also apparently Charty.
oh my god.
Oh, what you're drawing?
Hang on. Where's the turn this up thing? Just kind of that is brilliant.
That's cool. Come
Oh,
on.
that's great. That's great. Oh, that looks like fun. Wow.
It's actually quite funny. Sorry, I'm just
Can you imagine doing a live presentation and annotating it like that? That would be funny. That would be great. Wow.
Oh, brilliant.
Oh, too many toys. Too
Yeah,
many toys.
I'll pop the link to the package in to the GraphX package in the chat for anyone that hasn't seen it. But that could also be a nice, worthwhile sort of package to use to sort of draw some of this stuff. But in essence, you should always, every developer needs to learn how to draw stuff to a canvas, and how you do that stuff. Flutter processing is another, Flutter processing port is another good one as well. It's not a complete version of processing is a graphics language, for want of a better word, right now, and there is a port of it written by Matt Carroll, which means that you can get to you can do, again, graphics operations that are designed for it's kind of a language drawn for graphics operations, right? So you can do animations and things. So you get like a setup and a draw function. Yeah, I'll check it out if you're interested. There's lots of books on processing, which should be pretty much compatible.
Yep. All right. Final question, and then we can do some demos and stuff. Actually, well, let's do the question, then I'll continue what I was going to say. What's the best way to expose a flow painting context for custom paint, so I don't have to wrap it or use a custom painter as a child? Here's a gist.
Yeah, let's grab the gist open.
Okay.
So what is this? This is, what is the best way to expose flow painting context for custom paint / canvas so that I don't have to wrap it or use a custom painter as a child? Experimenting just. All right. First of all, why don't you wrap it? And why not use a custom painter? You're just saying, here are the two answers I want, but I don't want to use them.
Right. That's always suspect.
Like at this point, I know what you're doing. And at this point, let's just bring it up here. But I know what you're trying to get to here. And it's like, I don't want to have, obviously, all these widgets, all this complexity. Well, then that's the point of, you go, I shouldn't be using a flow widget. I should be making my own. At this point, I would be making my own render object, going, that's the way I want to do it. I'm going to do the rendering my way with the painting my way. Yeah, I mean, this is like super simple to convert to, you got your listed children, whatever it is. You want to paint those children. Yeah, I mean, this is a perfect example of something that you can just do with your own render object. I mean,
or Boxy. You could always bring Boxy in.
Paint the parent, paint the children. I mean, flow painting context. I mean, why do you want? I mean, the whole idea of this is it's context for this function.
Yeah.
I mean, what are you trying to? Why do you want to expose this? What you're actually trying to do?
Yeah,
that's what I need to understand here. I think when I look at this, it's just telling me here right now that my goal is to expose flow paint context. What's going to be a good way? Huh?
I'd say the moment
that he wants to get a child position and size.
Yeah, but that is a custom render object, right? Like,
Boxy. I tell you, you do all Boxy.
All Boxy. There you go. Whatever.
Boxy is universal.
Boxy, but sure.
Well, I mean, it's about computing where things are put and then painting them. That's Boxy to a T. It's a custom render wrapper so that you don't have to work quite as hard. Yeah, get child position and size, right? All right. That's it. But before we get going, Raph has a new toy that he wants to talk about.
Do I want to talk about?
Do you want to talk about it? Come on, you do. You gotta.
Nah,
you
you can share it. That's just my side project.
Oh, you need to show it to her on.
Yeah, show it. Talk about it.
Simon, can you just share the screen?
You can share. Share the screen.
You should be able to share
Find
yourself.
a tab. Share a tab.
Yep.
Share a tab. How do I do that? Hold on a second.
At the bottom, present.
I always thought they gave you presents. That'd be kind of cool.
I cannot share a tab. I can share a screen.
Yeah. Choose that, and then then the option in Chrome is to tap. Choose a tab.
Things you learn.
Can you see that?
Oh, yeah. Well, look at it. As soon as
Are you in Safari?
No.
Good. Then
Why?
Then in Chrome. Well, because it may not give you that option.
I see a second screen from
when you do present and you choose share screen, it then pops up with Chrome tab, window, entire screen as 3 tabs that you can choose from.
So I choose the tab and it should be sharing.
No, then you press the share button.
I did.
It's sharing. I see it. You just
You need to zoom in a bit on that one.
Zoom.
Okay.
Command plus.
He's giving away that he's got a 4K screen there.
Yeah.
Bit more.
Bit
more.
Everything's tiny.
Yes. So
even bigger. Even bigger.
Even bigger.
Yeah.
Even bigger.
Keep going. There we go. There. Almost there. There we go. Perfect.
Yay. So since Randall exposed me, so
yes.
I'm sharing this tool. So if you are doing some Jasper like project or you're just exploring this is the extension for VS Code. So you basically choose this command, you paste HTML, and then it outputs Jasper code.
Yeah, see, the thing is, I have an actual need for this. I was getting AI to do this for me a couple days ago, and because I have an existing, sorry,
it's not perfect yet. There's some, structures missing and bugs about, yeah.
Well, and we should back up a little bit for people who aren't familiar with Jasper. So Jasper is a Dart framework that generates using Dart to JS generates web stuff, and it's a lot lighter weight than Flutter. It's more like say Vue or React, in that it's basically just manipulating the DOM. So it's a really low level stuff, but it also means it's got good SEO stuff. It's got good server side rendering possibilities, all sorts of great things. Jasper is actually being used right now already on the flutter.dev website for portions of it. But when you build a Jasper component, you're writing Dart code, and that generates HTML. What you've done here is, suppose you have some existing HTML, but you want to generate it with Dart, which means you have to convert it to Dart code. Am I getting that right?
Yes. So, for example, if you want to use CSS framework like, I know, Bulma or Bootstrap, you basically copy the code from the website, you put this to this tool, and it just outputs the Jasper and Dart code.
Oh, okay, good, because in Jasper, you've got a section for CSS, you got a section for any sort of auxiliary JavaScript that you need, and you have a section that generates the HTML by a series of nested function calls. So
yes,
this is generating this is taking the HTML part of it and making the nested function calls, and then also properly extracting the CSS out to its own Dart section.
So CSS, no.
Oh,
but yeah.
Okay.
PR's welcome.
Yes, and sadly, this looks only for VS Code. You're not doing an Android.
Yes, but so it's like there are 2 parts for this. So if you go to this thing, then it's just a VS Code extension, but it is like, with the way it works, it uses the library in Dart.
Okay.
Which then I compile. You cannot see this.
You might have stopped sharing and share the next tab or whatever.
Yeah. So basically, there's an extension and there's a library in Dart, and I compiled this library to WASM, and I loaded the WASM in extension.
Cool.
So the whole logic is Dart, and you can add tests and stuff. Cool. And then I just make a new tag, and it goes straight to the marketplace.
Someday soon, my website will be in Jasper. When I get a spare moment or two. The problem is I keep waffling on implementation technology. How do I want to actually design this? Do I want high-level components that are pre-built that act like my previous setup that I have from Template Toolkit and Perl? Or do I just want to convert the raw code? Do I want to start over with the design from scratch? Got so many choices that I'm got. What do they call it? Analysis paralysis, when you cannot figure out what to do because you have so many choices to do. So that's been my problem with that. But anyway, yeah, thanks for showing that, Raph. Cool.
My pleasure.
All right. Now we do live coding. Simon, if Simon comes back ever. There's Simon.
Just trying to sort things out here.
Okay.
I just found out I missed a meeting that was somehow got scheduled during the live stream. So, whoops.
Oh no! You missed a meeting. Yeah. Oh, I like this. There we go. There's a fellow kindred there. Yes. Personal website with Jasper. Yes. Well, we can both work our way through it. Whoever gets done first is done ahead of the other person. That's all I know about that. Yeah, so we're coming up on 2 hours, but if we want to do something small, I think an extraction would be kind of fun. Show how that works. I don't think you've ever done that on a live stream before.
I'm just trying to.
So I'm intensely reading email and replying. You need a bot for that.
Yeah, trying to do multiple things at once. So
yes, Simon needs a bot. Yes.
So what are we doing? We're going to do some widgety stuff.
Yeah, I was thinking, a widget that has multiple sub-widgets, like you say you like to create to begin with, and then extract one or two of them out, especially one that has a reference parameter, so it ends up creating the. We
need a good example for that,
though. Like a form, an input form. Name, address, phone number.
Yeah, okay, I can see that. We can do that.
Because then it's going to have to extract out the controller, which is be interesting. He actually showed that how that gets done. Cool. That's probably something you can type.
Vibe coding session.
Yes.
Sorry.
Vibe. Well, we're not using AI though. We're using HI, human intelligence, or SI, Simon intelligence. Yes. SI is great. SI works.
Might need to retract that statement. It can't be intelligent and Simon in the same sentence. It doesn't work.
Well, sometimes it hallucinates. Sometimes it just stops mid-sentence. We don't know why. We then say continue. Just say continue, and Simon will continue. Oh man!
I'm just going to tidy up some bits here, just while I'm here, because this list is getting really long.
I know. That's good. That's good. Look at all those free snippets we're giving away for doing the show. Simon's giving away, I should say. I have nothing to do with this except color commentary.
Whatever. Oh God.
What? What'd you do?
It's having problems for factoring or something or other. So.
Oh no.
Who knows? But that's.
There's a little rainbow going on there. That's kind of weird.
Oh, that's my progress bar. It's because why not?
Yep.
Okay, guys.
Because every day is better with rainbows. Unicorns.
I'm going to sleep.
You're going to head off. All right. Thanks for coming by. And I have to give a go to your package and
see you in 164 hours, baby.
Yep.
Yep.
Cheers, guys.
See ya.
Yep. You see, it's 163 hours now from the beginning of the next show.
Right. Just kind of, we have even older. I don't have dates on these things. I should probably.
Wow. Mark them all 2022, just to really throw yourself off.
Older.
Oh, they're actually older than that, right? So, when did we do Flutter Apprentice? Because that's when I mostly got involved. Flutter Apprentice.
I don't even know what the dates
like
are. I
3
should
years
probably.
ago, right?
What is? And some of this, that's 20. Some of this is 20. Yeah. So there's a bunch of this is 2022 apparently.
Wow.
Anyway, it's how messed up all my imports now. I guess. I don't know. Why is it complaining?
Oh no.
Oh, do we not have error color on theme anymore? I don't know. Let's not worry about that. Right.
Yeah.
Oh, is this not going to work? Right, this is Karen. Right. We wanted to do one for today.
New Flutter project. Make a field form with. So I need text editing controllers for each of the form elements.
Right. Let's I guess let's start this off right. Let's grab that. Put that in there. Then we can hide all that nonsense.
This is 2025. Wow, it's been updated.
Yeah.
I love how you don't even use the templated one. You just go, I'll start with an empty file. Build it up from nowhere.
It's not working right there.
Child, right?
Right.
Oh, no.
What are we doing? What are we building now? Indeed. What are we building now? So,
well, I was thinking a form with.
I mean, here's the thing, right? So, there's got to be some cooler stuff than just a breakout widgets. Right. Okay. Fine.
Well, I wanted to show extract widget.
Yeah, I know.
But if you want to show other things, other refactorings.
So all right, let's do this, right? So yeah, let's do. So we have a scaffold, and a bar or whatever it is. Oh yeah, I need to import material. I mean, look, you can build. What we're saying is you can build your app with whatever actions you want or whatever sort of.
Yep.
Yeah. Do this quickly. What we're saying, we want to do a form. Whoops. That'd be funny. 240. Right. Yeah. What do we want here? What do we want?
This is why they're still here. It's always fun watching Simon code. A lot to take away from it.
Okay. Well, thank you. But I don't bore you. Right. I don't know. What do we I mean, so let's say we want what? We'll just do some text fields.
Sure.
Text form field.
You need to connect them up to some state of some kind.
I mean, a form is quite a nice thing, I think, to actually show. By the way, Simon once mentioned a smooth scroll jump, like on social media. Has it been done? No, we didn't do that in the stream. We could look at
that.
Right. What else can I put in here?
Name, address, phone.
Yeah, address, phone. All right, no, that there. Right. And then we'll have a elevator button. I'm going to show people how to actually, like, there's various ways of doing forms, but I think there's actually not a bad little example. It may seem boring, but actually you'll find some insight in this.
Yeah, no. There's a lot going on for a form, actually. Yeah. Because there's also, like, how do you tie the text controller to the state that's outside the form?
So let's run this up. And whilst that's compiling. Yeah, so my progress bars are Nyancat. So that's
I see. Oh, Nyancat. I get it now.
So I've got you can get Mario, you can get like Sonic. There's a bunch of like little plugins you can get to change them.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I have no time for such cuteness.
There's always time for cuteness.
There's probably a bunch of customizations I've done that would completely belie that, but
yeah. I have broken it.
Red screen of death already.
Directionality. And the reason why we failed on directionality is because this doesn't have material app on it. There we go. And let's get rid of that debug ban and get that away. Right. So can everyone see that at the app on the left?
Yeah. That looks pretty good.
So we've got 3 forms, send button. Let's make this a little bit better. Let's
you'd add padding around the column or something, right?
Yeah.
The value it should be.
What do we want? Like some. That just feels off now. 12.
Yeah.
I know. Anyway, so okay, it's a pretty boring form. I get you, but so we can type in a form, and I hit tick. I type in this box. I can hit tick, and this is really, really a bad form, right? So there's sort of multiple things to this, right? So we talked about doing this, so we can build this out of like components here, right? But let's say I'm trying to think of a good way of exemplifying this. So first of all, normally you want a parent form widget. This allows you to interact with the form as a whole. So you can make it so the page can't be popped. You can have it so it auto revalidates the form as you type things in, and you can have it call back when things are changed in the form. So there's nice things there because anything that's a form field registers with a form. Interesting enough, a form field is a generic, right? So you can actually make up your own widgets that are form fields, and they will register to the form widget, and you can do all that yourself. You can build into the form system yourself. It's certainly feasible. So let's say
the generic is the type of the editable value.
Yes, but what I mean is that there's if I look at where's the I chose the wrong one because it has all these freaking parameters, but you're seeing here it has a builder with form field state, and this is the builder for the actual widget that you see on the screen. So text, a form field wraps this notion that you can build whatever widget you want, and this one contains a text field.
Okay.
And if I carry this down, you'll see that it also has its own custom state that extends that base form field state. And again, you can do whatever state management you want to do within your form field. So think of it more like a custom stateful widget that interacts with the form. So this is just a normal state for a form field, but it's restorable. It has error detection, it has validation, it has all that kind of stuff built into it. So the idea being that if you want to, you can extend forms with your own fields. I'm trying to think of a good example here. So
like a slider, like a slider or a pop-up box or something would be.
Yeah, well, exactly. So if we could look at, and in fact, we'll look at this now. If I take form field and chuck it in the API docs. So most people don't realize you can do this. So that I want to show this as well. Whenever you're looking at classes on the Flutter SDK documentation, what you want to be doing is scrolling down and looking at inheritance and implementer section. These two sections on every class tell you what the inheritance chain is. And you can see here it's parents to a stateful widget. So now you know that every form field is a stateful widget. But equally, you know what other types of form field exist in the platform. So Kubernetes text form field, drop-down button form field, and text form field, right? If I click on that, obviously, I might scroll down and find out that there's other ones that are inherited from this. This is how you can browse the widgets that are inside the framework. So if I go find the base widget class, this is fine. But actually, I can see here that, implementers are stateful, stateless, view, proxy. These are all the base types. If I go to like render object widget, it tells me that there's these types of render object widgets. And here they are. And if I was to click on one of these, I can then see all the different objects that are follow that chain down. So you can come in from this top level and say, look up like decorated box and find out, here are all these other ones. For example, find decorated box. You would find it actually is a single child render object widget. Go to that and find all the other ones that are single child render object widgets. So there's some really nice ways of like browsing the widgets in the repository and understanding how they all relate to each other. Anyway, back to form field. So should we do it? So what I wanted to show here is we'll do a couple of little things here. We'll do a custom form field, brief custom form field, and we'll also talk about how we track the state of all of this, how you submit like a field and manage its state, and then how we also extract these components out, right? So now I've just chucked the entire app in one widget. Obviously, this would be a lot larger with every full app, but the principle still remains. This is not obviously a good idea. So we could just obviously extract our page here and call it home screen, right? That was extracted into a function. I did not want to do that. Wrong extract. Flutter widget, Control W. There you go. Was it home screen? Oops. There you go. Now I've got a separate widget, and it's about doing this kind of thing, right? Like extracting things out. So let's say I had this is one that catch people out. So we'll show you this one. We'll explore state restoration as well. I have made entire talks on state restoration that you can go watch.
Wow.
So we've done that here in the past as well. So probably not. Right. Anyway, we did actually cover it a couple of times on Humpday. There is a database of all the Humpday stuff.
Christian's database.
Yeah, Christian's database. Let me just see if I can grab the link for that. I bookmarked it.
I probably did too.
Here it is. Humpday Q&A questions repo. I don't know if you can search this and it will find live coding. I don't know. Oh, look, the data tables. He's put down all the topics. And look, he's linked the video and the code. This is awesome, right? Let me pop this in the chat. So if I search here, restore. State. I mean,
I saw restoration.
It's huh?
Saw restoration, just not.
You did see restoration, did you?
Yeah, it's RESTORA, not E.
No, it's REST is not found.
Okay.
Anyway, I know there's something in there, but where it is, have a look around. Anyway,
we need an AI bot to scan this. Maybe I'll do one of those.
Let's just kind of start putting this out. So where was I? Was it Control Shift W? No, that is not the right one. It was Control W. Try that again. Apparently, it's not that either. It is Control W. Oh, hang on. Apparently, the key doesn't map correctly. Figure that one out later. Anyway, what we call this one? This is our address form, right? You can start doing this, and obviously, if there was parameters being passed in, we'd start seeing those. So what I think that we kind of maybe need to make this a little bit more flexible than this. Let's call this contact addresses or something. And then we'll have a address list. This is just to give us some sort of state that we can manage. So I take the result of the form and display it on the screen. So we'll have this. A list of addresses. Let's invent our model up here. Why not? So what do we say? It's got a name, address, phone. Sure. It should be like contact card. Contact card. There you are. Contacts. Yeah, okay, let's do that. And this be contact list. Let's do that. Right, where was it? Contact card data. Contact data. Right. Name, address, and phone number, right?
Yep.
And then we want we're about to modify these at some point, but that's fine.
You mean a phone number is not just an int? No, just kidding.
I was about to say.
Like zip code being just an int. If you grew up in the US, you think that, and then you realize
there's now hyphenated zip codes.
There's no rest of the world like that. The rest of the world's all different.
There's also hyphenated zip codes, right? So you get 5 digits dash and then 4 digits or something like that.
That's the 9 digits. Zip plus 4 is 5-4. Yeah. At one point, I had my own personal zip code because they gave everybody that had a PO box their own suffix, so I could just put 97075-1042 on a mail, and it would get to me. My own private zip code.
So our text is going to have contact name, a title, sorry. No, it's subtitle, don't we? Yeah. Subtitle can have contact. Address. Sure. Let's
Oh, and you can extract out that list view thing, or the address view thing too. Eventually. Contact view, I guess.
Cool. Okay, so we've got a contact list display. Let's get that on the screen. Then we'll have this be an add button. And that's going to do navigator of context, push something. In fact, yeah, push. So address form. Let's make another status for a minute, and we'll call this add contact screen. That's going to contain our address form, and our contact stream. We want a way of showing that, so I'll have a route. And the route is going to return some data, in this case, a address. What do I call it now? Contact data. Sorry. Contact data. Why, you know what? There you go. And then we want to need anything else for that for a minute. Right, so and let's go back up to our thing. We're going to say add constraint route, and this is going to return back a contact, quite possibly. And if we have a contact, then we want to add that to our list and re-render our list.
Is it already inferring contact to be nullable because it's a push?
Interesting. Actually, it's me. That's because I did not make it nullable when it should be. Well, it should. It's lying. Oh no, just right. No, it's not. No, it's my bad. So.
Oh yeah, you're not flattening.
Yeah, I didn't think so. Right. But it's also we shouldn't really put it in here. Let's be honest. So.
Yeah. Async. There you go.
Future. Right. And then when we get back our thing, we can say set state.
Is that a sort of a guideline from you to keep your on pressed to be short enough that you're not cluttering the rest of the stuff around it?
I prefer that. I prefer that to lift it out. It also means that when it comes to separating off maybe a presenter model or something else, you can then pull all that functionality out. So in this case, if I had, let's say, a home screen presenter class, home screen presenter, right? This might be have this in it. And let's just, I mean, there's a ton of ways to do this.
Take a context then.
Can I just create a constructor? So you could do something like this, and then do I even want to pull this out into presenter model? I guess I can.
Set state wouldn't go in there then, would it?
No, you just do things slightly different here, right? So hang on. If you want to do like immutable data, then it would be something like this. So it'd be saying value equals list of. It'd be it's just annoying. I really have to. Apparently, I do.
Did it for the right value.
Oh, it's because the data in here is not a list of contact data. My bad. That's why that was. All right, I'll get there eventually. Sorry.
It's nice to see it's not just confusing to me sometimes. It's also confusing even to Simon.
Right. Where was I? So home screen presenter. People kind of like this kind of like maybe approach the same kind of seeing this kind of stuff. So right. And then
that's a point there. Context mounted.
Yeah, well, that's not going to be a problem in this case, but I appreciate that. What was it doing? Yeah, this. Right. And then I'll explain one in a minute if you want. If you want more context on that. Right.
Oh.
And then here we can have.
If. How quickly can I wrap my head around what I'm just reading to keep up with you? That's the question. It's often fun.
Let's see. Right. So basically, all we've done here is just to make things clear to people, right? This is just using, I mean, essentially it's what state management can do for you as well. But here we just extracted out the logic of this widget, the home screen, right, into a presenter, right? So now there's a separate expectation on what addresses is, how it interacts with on add pressed, and this can be testable without actually creating. You don't need to dispose of the value notifier, but yes, you should probably. So just to be clear, the value notifier itself on dispose or on a change notifier, all it does is it stops people from listening to it again and adding listeners by mistake. It basically just says this can't be used again, right? So where is it? I can find it. Yeah. So it just says it's now been disposed and there's no more listeners. It doesn't actually do anything per se. The reason why you might have a dispose is good as well is that if you have it really hides a bug that you've created by mistake. That's when you add listeners and you forget to remove those listeners, because dispose wipes those listeners out, right? Like it gets rid of them from the object. But yeah, I mean, you can do. There's lots of ways of doing this kind of stuff. Like you can do a knit, right? And then I could actually have like this whole sort of notion of a value notifier piece. Have that in be something like this, right? I mean, there's a ton of ways of doing this kind of stuff, right? I mean, if you're doing this yourself, then what you'll probably do is do a have some sort of base init dispose interface that's called a presenter that you would have all your presenters implement, and then you could make a widget that automatically calls the init dispose and have it called a stateful presenter widget, right? Like these are things that just now across your app you can. But the problem most developers have, I think, is they overuse Flutter developers. They just say everything has to be a stateless or stateful widget. It's like, no, no.
Yeah, just no.
Literally, it's nothing. It's not even related, right? So, anyways, where was I? Yeah. So do that as lay, and then you can have a.
The only thing is, if you subclass from stateless to stateful widget, you get the context boundary for building, which you don't get if you're just passing context around.
No, you do. You do now.
What?
Yes.
It could build home screen.
Every context has a mount. Every context has mounted on it.
That's the same context as the parent has, though. When you're
what was your point? I thought you were saying you didn't have mounted. Sorry.
I'm saying if you're not using a stateless or stateful widget, there's not a build boundary being inserted. If you're just passing a build function that's not a stateless or stateful widget, we're just passing it to just a function, then it doesn't get a context boundary.
It still has a boundary to the widget that the context is from.
Right. So it becomes just a function within a larger structure. That's not the same.
I'm very confused by what we're even talking about right now. Sorry.
Don't worry about it. Move on. Somebody at home will figure out what I'm saying and go, "Oh, Randall's right." Okay.
I'm not saying you're right. I'm not following. Maybe I'm. Anyway.
Difference between having sub widgets and functions.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right. So you do involve a stateless or stateful widget typically to be able to create a widget bound or a context boundary to be able to have a different realm of rebuild.
I mean, yeah. So what we've essentially done here is, I mean, you don't have to do this way, right? There's plenty of ways, lots of ways of doing this, but this idea about like, yeah. Anyway, right. Before I literally, that was complete off topic. That wasn't even something we're going to do. So, all right. So now we want to get back to the form. I want to get back to the form. So we can hit plus, and we get an error.
We already bet my goals, which is making sure that
no material widget found. Yes,
you're refactoring, which you
did. Our form doesn't have a scaffold at the top. We don't on the form. What I'm doing, I want it on the screen. Oh, it don't have to be a scaffold. It can be anything. Right? I don't even. But for this example, right, hit plus. There we go, and I can go back from there. Not very helpful right now. So let's do at bar. Bar. I'll have title be add contact. There we go. Add contact. We hit the X button to go back. The X button pops up because we've done a full screen dialog. I really don't like this theme. Like it's too flat right now. It's for showing this. It's not very.
This is where we need AI to say, make it pretty. Or we'll just use some more of this SI, Simon Intelligence.
There you go.
Oh.
So you kind of see where like the boundaries of some of the stuff is now. Maybe it's slightly helpful, maybe not. But anyway, so when we hit the send button or save, maybe we change it to the save button. Let's get down to where we were. We want this to save our contact and send it back. So let's see, we've got this address form, but I think the notion of save is actually one of what's in the parent, the add contact, right? Not the actual form itself. So I'll wrap this in a form, and we'll pull out that submit button, save button. All right. So
form creates a form state then.
So crawl fact, yeah. So there's there's lots of ways of interacting with this. At the moment, we don't really have much going on with our form. In fact, our form is not appearing at all. Why is our form not appearing at all?
They're very tiny form. You have to use a.
What did I do?
I don't know. Are you calling the right thing?
No. This is let's
weird.
just do this. No, I'm the error is popping up in the log. I haven't got the log open, right? So you're not seeing. So, it's trying to do the expanding, right? So the save button at the bottom. If we want the save button underneath, but to actually have that, we can set our main axis alignment to min on the one on the inside, actually. Can we? I don't know. We'll find out. Let's find out.
I tell you, I'm going to be so happy we can just type .min on stuff like that.
That's yeah.
So cool. So cool. Coming soon.
Yeah.
Now that we don't get macros, we get a bunch of other cool stuff. Yay.
Oops. All right, messed this layout up. Let's find out what's going on. There's my log. Okay. Oh, no, I haven't. I was just looking at the wrong screen. That would also mean it makes sense. Right. So let's get rid of that. Does that still work? Good. It was the min. I was right. Okay, good. So we're going to take our padding as well. And so padding in this case is not actually a factor of the form, it's a factor of the layout around the form.
Yeah.
So if we want to like pad it out from its so that hasn't actually changed anything. Obviously, it's still now on the outside of the form. We want the button to be padded in, so we can now move our padding up to the parent. Can I swap with parent? Oh, I've been too helpful right now. Right, where were we? Okay, so add. I'm going to have to fill these out. We'll have a custom. I'm going to add in another field to our data and call it country. And I'm going to show you how we make like a custom field where you can like select something, like country in this case, right? We'll just put US and UK in there or whatever right now, but the principle still remains. And then what do we want to do? Yeah, so fill these out. So let's add a new form field for country. And we're going to implement a completely new one down here. So we're going to make a stateful widget, first of all, and call it country form field, right? And we have it be a form field string and form field state string. And it is saying what? go look. Where's our create? Yeah, form field state of T, form field state of T, form field state of type. Oh, there we go. That's my bad. Sorry. Extends form field of state of form field of T. Yes, this will be off string. There we go. Right. I'll get there eventually. Right. If I remember the parameters, there it is. Oh no, just form field state. What have we got? Drop down. This is like a drop down button form field. What do we want to do? Should we make it pop up with a dialog that you can choose from?
Sure.
Sure. All right. So then this is just going to. Yeah, let's just have this as like text holding the state. State value.
State mixin. Interesting.
This is going to be really, really basic, but it will be enough for what we need. Why is this having a problem? Constant value, yes, it's not constant. That's why. Good. All right.
It's probably one of the biggest complaints I get all day is people saying, why is it saying this can't be made a const? And it's because it can't be made a const, but they don't understand that some const got inserted earlier without them being aware, perhaps. And now they're making a change that makes it no longer eligible for that. And they don't think, hey, the way to solve this, get rid of that const, and then just see if it makes any of the rest of it const. Because that's typically what I do. I just do a save and see where more consts pop up again.
Yeah, they should make that covariant.
Thank you, Will. That's good. Yes. A constant complaint. Literally. That's great. That's great. Thank you for that.
We don't actually need a custom state in this example. We'll see what we can do to maybe make use of it. Let's see what we get to. Right. So we want to make this pop up with a. Let's just put it in here. Show dialog or something. Is there like a list dialog? I don't think there is.
Darn, I know what I'm going to be doing this afternoon now.
What?
I can't tell exactly. I can't say anything out loud, but I've got early access to something that is going to be way too fun to play with. So I'll just taunt everybody with that.
Sounds exciting.
Yeah, it does mean that any spare time that I thought I had this afternoon is now gone. That's all it means.
I don't know if simple dialog is what I want actually, but
fun part of being a GDE is they give us early toys sometimes.
This looks helpful.
Okay. Sample code that's helpful. Wow.
I know. Who'd have thunk it? Let's
imagine. Go imagine. I've got to say, for the most part, and I'm sure you'll agree, Simon, that the Flutter docs are really well done. There's a lot of details that are there and obvious, and I think the idea of having all the documentation, the authentic documentation, the core documentation is right alongside the code. Just nobody else seems to really do that. I know Perl was a big pioneer of that by having pod inline documentation. Of course, who was it? Dijkstra? Was it No, it was the guy that did the 3 books on art of computing. Knuth invented the Tangle or whatever that thing.
Yeah.
They embedded. You actually write a description.
Give me another country. I need another country. Any other country?
Mexico.
Mexico.
You only know the United States, the United Kingdom. You got to get out more, sir.
No, I just want. I can't be bothered. This is just an example, right? Like,
okay, all right.
I just want to put a few in there that's not just 2, right? Korea. We'll put Korea in there. Anywhere else? Want to put another one in there?
Yeah, sure. Put Korea in there.
In fact, I don't know why we're doing it like this.
Oh, don't mix them up. Korea.
No, hang on a minute. Countries in country in countries.
Oh yeah,
and then let's do it the right way.
Yes. Algeria. Xanadu. There's a country for you.
Xanadu.
Yep. Now the song is in my head. Great. Thank you, guy. Xanadu. Xanadu. Song a lot more popular than the movie.
Right. Where was I? Country.
You start seeing cut and paste code, it probably means you need to drive your code with data.
Korea.
It's almost like I'd like to take away cut and paste from beginner programmers. If you have to keep retyping the same thing, it'll eventually get you to the point where there's got to be a better way. Although for most people, cut and paste is the only refactoring they can do, so can't do too much of that.
Right, that'll do. That's all the examples I'm getting in there right now. Right. Show dialog, and then we'll have this return back a inkwell. I actually did this. I did one of these. I really don't like the way that they do this, but I did do a similar one where it was. In fact, you know what? Let's do it now. Let's just do it in here. So you can just do a function here that says widget builder. Have this do whatever you want in return. Like that. Drop it in there.
What is Vim motion?
No, we don't need to care about state then. And then this. Oops.
Xanadu.
I just.
Xanadu.
Yeah. Bit of a hack, but.
And have to believe we're magic. That's a fun.
Right. Yeah, where was I? Right, ink. Value. On tap. Show dialog. And then this can, on its return, if there's no value equals data. I know there's a way of setting the value, which I completely forgotten how you do it. Set value.
Set value. What is that from?
I actually use Vim, so yes, I'm pretty quite.
Oh.
Vim. Someone's asked. I was like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What we'll do, in fact, is we'll change this display to be a input decorator. For those that don't know what that is, go back to find some more widgets.
There's just set value from form field state. It's part of form field state. Oh, interesting.
That's where it's in there. Oh no, it's in there, isn't it? Yeah, it's this.
Fastest way to write code is to get Gemini to write it for you. Excuse me, the fastest way to get working code isn't that. Fastest way to get code that resembles working code. Starting an hour later, this is getting cut into my midday food time.
It's empty.
We're coming up on 3 hours. Probably ought to wrap up at some point here.
Yeah. Right. Let's do this again. Right. There we go. So we have select country. I can tap on it. I get my country selection list. I choose my country, and
did it change it? It didn't change it in the text.
Yeah, no. Why didn't it change it in the text?
There's a field for that should be getting changed.
Why did it not change?
Is it not calling set state to be able to refresh it? Set value doesn't call set state.
Apparently not.
No.
Okay, so let's try that again. Go in here, country, Korea, Bosch, United Kingdom. There you go, look. Magical form. Cool, eh?
Bingo.
So, yeah, you can also call this, do this as like hint text, and then you get select country, and then could just call it country, and then do the others as hint text as well.
See, guys, you guys are watching. This is worth it, right?
Are people interested in this? Is this knowledge? Are people getting something from this?
Yeah, I'm getting something
from it. Blah, blah, blah.
Set value. I had to go look at it.
So one of the things we can do with this is, actually, I think I'll put label text back in.
Yep.
Country only. Anyway, good. So now what we can do is have this up to do validation when we hit the save button, yeah. I guess. 100% cool. What else do we want? We can validate as we type. I can't remember what the aim of this was now. Like where we're going with this.
Only in your head.
Let's actually have this save the data and then return it and add it to the list, because we haven't even done that yet. So then
yeah, that's important.
Then I think we'll see where we want to go from there and what the time is. So we've got this returning back, wanted to return back a contact data. Want our save to actually do that. So I mean, our address form itself could actually extend a form field. the actual form itself. This also means that we can kind of do some neat tricks here, because what form allows us to do, if I can find the form state, in fact, I'll do it in here. So we're going to make this stateful. Let's have address form. On save address. Oops.
Oh yeah, this is actually my question too here. You were going to extract the form fields with controllers. How come we don't have a controller yet?
You don't need controllers.
Really?
Yeah.
I always thought we needed controllers.
Who told you need controllers?
Is it because we have form state? If you use a form,
yeah, there's a few different ways of doing this. Controllers, I think a controller for every field, you just don't need it, right?
Okay.
The whole idea of form field is like it's a unit on itself. So you get the on saved, right?
Right.
Which is triggered specifically on form fields when you call save on the form, and that allows you to then store all of the fields all at once.
How do you reference the fields from your form state? Do they all have names?
Yeah.
Are they properties of your form state subclass?
I mean, it's up to us on what we want to do, right?
Oh, okay.
Try to see if I can show you how this works.
Yeah.
Of course, when I want. It want to piss me off now.
Actually, I think there's a Flutter Dev cookbook entry on how to make forms. Could probably look at that.
Oh, group ID. Oh yeah.
Not instead of watching you. I'm just saying if we're just.
Oh yeah, no, I was thinking that out of myself. So I'm just working out how I want to trigger this. So the way I'd probably be doing this is that save can save. If this was stateful, then you can just have save set some variables in here. So you might have like name, address, country, and you'll see where you can actually go with this in a minute. But I'm just.
Yeah, right. You have to have some object that represents the sort of extracted values of the form.
Yeah, and then essentially in save you're doing this.
Oh, on saved. So there's a callback for each field.
Yeah.
So there's some repetition with that. I imagine there are easier ways to do that. Is that why we have all these wonderful packages to try to do with forms? Because I know they all try to make this automated a bit.
I mean, it all depends on what we're doing. So the thing is, like, if you see repetition here, all we need to do is make a widget that does that, and you give it the label name, and then you know the function to return it in. Like you don't need packages. Always packages. Right now, where was I?
But I like packages. I like when packages are delivered.
Sure. I mean, it just depends on. I've not got a problem with that. It's just like over. What's the word?
Over dependency on dependency.
Yeah.
Yes, I get it. I totally get it. In fact, you can build a kind of a wrapper that all it does is take a function that stores it in the proper place. No, I guess that's too much. No, Now I'm thinking by the time I do that, I've already written out everything that I'd have to write
Exactly.
in the actual callback.
Exactly. So
if it's more than a simple closure, it belongs somewhere else. Yes. Well, I'm sure there's some functional programming thing that'd be actually equivalent that would be shorter to write. I know there's a FP Dart based form package, FP form or something like that, that uses fields that are they're type either, so then you get either the error that got triggered or the actual value, and then you can do something with that in saved. Chance of thunderstorms. This exciting day today. Tornado. Severe weather threat. Tornado. Starting at 2 p.m. That's about an hour.
Stay at home.
Well, actually, it's funny. I am already in my basement, so I'm about as protected as I can be right now. Problem is, my internet would go out. That's no fun.
So what you're saying is, if you suddenly disappear, we know why.
Yes, that's probably the important thing. It's got severe weather potential starting at 1 o'clock. So starting in 5 minutes, they've got potential.
All right. So we've got our initial form. We've got filling out stuff. Save's going to work. Once a save takes place, we'll have these fields filled out that we want to get to. So we can now have a something like contact data, get contact. There's plenty of ways of doing this stuff. I'm just showing you a way, right? But we'll do this.
Nice.
Right. So now what we could do, we could have our stateful widget be a form.
Where do we do the pop to get us out of the form? And is that going to return this contact?
Yeah, I haven't got to that point. That's what I'm doing next.
Oh, okay. I was thinking I was missing that already, but apparently you're just not there yet.
Oh. Yeah, I was hoping I didn't have to do that. Okay. How is this doing it by default?
It's still sunny outside. I can't be tornadoes if it's sunny, right?
I was just trying to avoid.
Don't know anything about living.
I'll do it a different way. I'm going to do it a different way.
Okay.
All right, let's do it a different way. So anyway, so we've got a add contact. We've got address form coming in. I guess we'll do a key on that. Yeah. Where's our form widget? It's down here.
Keep your mobile device charged and be prepared to take shelter. Wow.
We're going to double key it. We're going to double key it.
Double key it.
Yeah, let's not do contact. Let's just do. Like that. That's much better. That feels better. Right. So then this becomes a. Oops.
That's where you pop the contact, right? Yeah.
Right. To try it.
At that point, you would want to also check mounted then, right? Because you don't want to be popping if you're not the same guy again.
Where? Sorry. Here.
Technetic will know.
No, this is synchronous.
Oh.
You don't have to. It's going to be guaranteed to be there on the screen.
Sure. Okay.
So name, Randall, address, some place in Portland.
Portland city limits, even Portland proper.
United States. Phone number 123 123 1234.
Yep, that's pretty close to what it is right there.
Save.
Nothing.
Save.
Save.
Whoa. We made a mistake. Null check.
See?
Null check. I forgot to put a key on my form. That would be why. That'll do it. Try that again.
Should that be a required parameter then?
No.
Okay.
Randall. Portland. United States. Yeah, Randall Portland. There you go.
Hey.
So
I am somebody now. Awesome.
Now if we grab this little bit here for contact screen, oops, for add contact, paste it down here and just change this to edit contact. Oops. Right, so passing contact. This is going to be given a contact. That's in. This is edit. Right, and then we're going to have a form field state, same thing. Will pop as well. It's going to be edit contact. Update. And right, so take this back. Edit contact screen. So if we tap on one on our main screen, edit contact.
Seems like a lot of things that are clever and fun to do require a good knowledge of closures. It's so common a pattern in everything like this.
Actually, I don't want it there. I want it here.
Closures seem like second nature to me. I first learned about them and I was doing some Lisp coding. Then I was doing some work with Perl, and we added code references, which are effectively closures. And one of the Perl guys, one of the smarter Perl guys, wrote a book on essentially using Perl code refs to do some really amazing stuff. And every time I've read through that book, I've tried to read through that book, I always get like about the middle of the 5th chapter, and I go, this is even more complex than I remember. How do you keep track of all these things? But now that I've been doing programming with Dart, it's easier.
So when we supply context list, we're going to supply our present. Edit press, sure. And then once they go to there, we say edit contact. Oh, edit contact screen dot route. Pass in the contact. Contact. What's the problem?
I should do a video functions that return functions. Those are fun.
Oh, you're using the same variable name, of course. New contact. Right. If new contact is like no, then
contact two. Do you have a double equals for that state though? For that class?
What? Where?
Because it has. You're saying equals contact. Oh, you're just using an identity.
Oh. Yeah, no, yeah. This is just I'm just using identity for this because it's going to be the object that we got out of the list.
Oh, right. Okay.
Let's see what happens. Add Randall. Hit save. We didn't do any validation. Now click on this.
Yep.
Add country, Mexico. Update. Go back. Add address. 1, 2, 3. Whatever. There you go.
Look at that. You have a whole contact manager that you built in about an hour. That's awesome.
So there's actually
now make the country list populated from a library list and have it do autocompletion.
Don't push it. So I was going to say what I really want to do is put validation in here, which isn't far away, but we could do something. Let's do just do one basic validation function in here, which is just
because we're at more than 3 hours now. So
yeah, I appreciate that. So we just want to say if value. Come on. In fact, we'll make the validation function and say here, say bring build required. Oh, I'm going to do your favorite thing, Randall. I'm going to do your favorite thing, and you're going to hate me for it, and you're most welcome. Wait for it.
What? Yeah.
That should work, shouldn't it? Should not. Why am I getting an error? Hang on.
I don't think that's the syntax.
I could just return it as a field validator. That works. Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
What's the type? Yeah, form field validator type T. So this is a second order function. So basically, we got a function that returns a function.
Nice.
I do apologize, everyone, but that is the best way of doing that.
I
So now it means on this validator function, we can say name.
I was already saying I want to do a video on that because it's fun.
And in doing this now.
Yeah, that's clever stuff. What would be better is to make it an extension on string.
No.
Yeah.
So now we've got that.
Quote address quote dot validator required.
Yeah. So now if I hit save, we're going to get phone required, country required, address required, name required, right?
Yep.
Put something in.
Ooh. Oh, we got no scroller.
Let's just fix that briefly. It won't take 2 seconds. Wrap with.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, he says.
Did you
you know why? This is it's not. It doesn't need to. It's in the wrong place here. Oops, wrong column. Wrong column. It's not on the form. It's on the screen.
Yep. It needs to be under your body, right? It doesn't have to be like close to your body. Yeah.
I'll do it on add as well, since we're on that form, which would be more helpful. Right. So yeah, if I hit save, there you go.
It scrolls.
Anyway, typing docs. So something we've missed here, and let's just quickly fix this, which
there must be logic to automatically when it has to resize for the keyboard that automatically makes sure that the focused element is scrolled into view.
Yeah, it's already done that. It does it automatically.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There must be some automatic code in there that does that.
Yeah, it does that. Yeah. There's actually it's on scrollable. So scrollable. Let's just do this. Contexts. So scrollable has a function in it which is scrollable. I'm pretty sure it's scrollable.
Present form?
No. Yes. I might be because there's an error in the code there. Let me just fix this.
Yeah.
Always on user interaction. Oh no, it's static. It's a static. Sorry, it's a static function. Ensure scrollable dot ensure visible.
Oh, nice.
So what this does is you put this in a widget, and you run this somewhere in a widget, and I'll ensure that it's now visible in the scroll view.
Oh, nice.
It does the whole sort of working out the rectangles, working out how much it needs to scroll, and scrolls the view by that much, basically.
Couldn't you use that to get to like the 47th element of a list view?
Well, no, because this needs to have you need to have the context to get to it. It's the widget it's the object in the list view that's decided to be scrolled into view. When something's outside the list view off the screen, it doesn't actually exist. Therefore, not attached to context.
Got it. Okay.
Nice try. We can always talk about scrolling. We could do like a scrolling special and talk a bit more about that if we're interested. Right. So now if I hit what the hell was I just doing? It was
you're typing invalid things and then trying to hit save, and then it was scrolling too far.
Oh yeah.
So, that works.
Oh no, those are it. As I type, it will revalidate now. So if I pick Korea, oh, that's interesting. It didn't revalidate when I changed the value. Anyway, we can look into why. I can't really be bothered, but anyway, yeah, there you go. So cool. Well, that's your luck. That's your lot. That was way more than we expected. Let me post this in a gist, and then everyone can take it from here if they want to, right?
Entertain for a second.
I don't know if this was helpful or not, but hopefully people found it interesting.
Well, Simon is getting the gist figured out. I also want to say that I just started playing with Rue code, which is a fork of Klein, which can use all sorts of AI agents to do sequence kind of code updating and things. And I had it playing with Gemini Flash too. And it was doing some amazing stuff. I was taking parts of my website and turning it into Jasper code. And the Jasper code was perfect. The Jasper was exactly what I wanted. So it was, that's why I mentioned that when was and so just check that out, because with Gemini it's totally free. So you get this plugin Rue code in VS Code, and then you tell it to use Gemini as back end, and it can do series of queries and change the text in your files and create things and launch stuff. And it uses the MCP protocol, which to me just makes me flash back to Tron, because that's what it was called in Tron. But there's a lot of stuff going on in the AI world right now, especially with agents and agent work. But check that out for everybody. It's Rue Klein, ROOCLINE. No, excuse me, Rue code. It used to be called Rue Klein because it was a fork of Klein.
Right.
Rue code for VS Code. Yeah.
Pop the gist link in the chat. Bring it up on stream.
Cool. And also in the next 3 or 4 days, really, I'm going to get this done. I re-recorded the whole thing and then it broke, and so I have to redo it one more time. But in this channel, my Dart and Flutter channel, I will have a nice 15-minute, 20-minute video on exceptions. What are exceptions? What are errors? What's everything else? How does try catch work? What are best practices around that? That should be out in my channel in the next couple of days. So I had to re-record the whole thing though, because we got crapped up by the recording system somewhere. So one more recording.
Well, thank you everyone for joining us, and we'll see you again same place next time.
164 hours.
We have a little different outro here. Hang on.